Hey, 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 happy Tuesday. Or no, it's Monday. Jesus, I'm losing my days already. I'm back, guys. Good to see you. Good to be here. Good to have you here. Thank you guys for joining us today. Today, guys, we're looking at Delphi, wondering if Odinism is a part of this case. We're going to talk about it and look at it here in just a few minutes. So, thank you for joining us today. I hope you guys had a great weekend. See you in a few. Bye bye. I love it. Gotta love it. What's going on, everybody? Good Monday afternoon. Good to see you. Good to be here. Good to have you here. I appreciate you guys so much for joining us today. Hope you all had a wonderful afternoon. Yeah, that was one of my newer intros, which is absolutely awesome. Thank you, Stevie Irwin, for that. As always, much appreciated. I'm going to use that one here and there. Always thought it was pretty awesome. I think that one's pretty awesome. Of course, my other one, I absolutely love that one too. I love the music itself. It just gets me pumped and ready to go every time I do this. So I love it, love it, love it. So again, thank you for that, Stevie. I appreciate you, buddy, so very much. I got to figure out a way to work it into my controls here because it doesn't fit. It's a little bit bigger than the other one was, so I had to play it a different way. So either way, here we are. Yes, guys, please, if you will, thank Stevie for his awesome uh, graphics that he does. He's very good at it. The other one that was made that I run typically is done by Molly. She did that as well. She's very good at it. We have some really talented people in here, guys, and I am very grateful to have them as part of this community. I really am. So, welcome everybody, and again, thank you all so very much. Right, Carolyn, I think it's pretty neat. So, what do we have here? Look at this: 12 months, 12 whole months. Miss Brandy B. This lady here has been with me my whole career on YouTube, literally the entire thing. Come February, it'll be 2 years that she'll have been with me, but she's been in here for a year in the true crime community. So, Brandy, thank you for being you. Thank you for doing everything you do. Thank you for being the person that you are. We all appreciate you. We all love you, and we all appreciate you very, very much. So, again, thank you, Brandy, uh, just for being who you are. And congrats. Congrats on a year, a whole year. You are absolutely welcome, my dear. Very much so. So let's see, guys. Again, like I said, we're looking into some more Delphi today, and we're looking into the fact is Odinism a part of this case? We don't know. We're going to look at it, talk about it, and you can kind of come to your own conclusions on a sense, based on what we see and what we talk about, think about it. So let's see who we got here joining us today on this crappy Sunday afternoon. Sorry, I'm running late today, guys. I've had some technical issues today, but I got it worked out. No thanks to amazingness, and I believe in guardian angels. So I truly do. So let's see what we got. Who we got here with us today? Looks like Miss Zelda's in the house. Hey, hey, good to see you, Zelda. Thank you and welcome back. And it never, ever fails. Ever. I think the telemarketers know when I do my shit. I'm telling you, I'm late today and I'm still getting these same calls. It is Monday today, not Sunday. Monday. Did I say Sunday? If I said Sunday, I'm sorry. Today's Monday. Um. Anyway, my apologies here. It is Monday here. Yes. Carolyn Miller's in the house. Welcome back. Vicky Sipple, great to see you. SRB, welcome to you. Great to have you here. Boston supports Lana. Good to have you here. Good to see you. Thank you for joining us today. Jay Late, welcome back to you. Miss Salty Sleuth is in the house. Always a pleasure to have you here. Thank you for joining us. Doodlebug, welcome back. Great to see you. Sweet Surrender, good to have you here. Good to see you. Of course, Miss Brandy B, the OG in the house. Good to see you, Brandy. Thank you for joining us. Blah, welcome back to you as well. Thank you for being here. Lisa R, great to see you today. Thank you for joining us. Let me see here. Kim Marin, it's been a while. Great to see you. Great to have you here. Thank you for joining us today. Let me see. Dakota Parker's in the house. Welcome back, Dakota. Good to see you. Let's see. Who else do we have here? Rowena Moses. Thank you for being here today. I appreciate you. Let me see. Josie's in the house. You did not miss roll call. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Again, guys, on your way in the door, please hit that like button if you will. Leave a little DNA on that button if you could. That way, you guys don't miss a thing. Sorry, guys, I'm trying to grab this. Okay. So what we're going here. Let's see. I think I got everybody so far. We got 61 peeps in the house and 26 likes. Let's get that going, guys. We got to get this out in that algorithm. Jane Bosch, welcome back and happy Monday to you as well. Miss Ashley's here. Welcome back, Ashley. Good to see you. Laurent, thank you for joining us today. CL in the house. What's going on? Good to see you. Upstate New York, thank you for joining us today. Good to see you. Of course you are. Let me see. Where are we at here? Miss Cassie, good to see you, dear. Thank you for being here. Kimmy Q, welcome back to you. Good to see you. Eve Lucky's in the house. What's going on to you? With you, good to see you. Christina Laska. I think I said that right. Welcome back to you. Thank you for joining us today. Slow Southern Style, South Louisiana in the house. Welcome to you. Looks like we got another Raging Cajun in here. That's awesome. I love it, love it, love it. Welcome back, Bombshell. Good to see you as well. Great to have you here. Come on in, guys. Grab your coffee, tea, whatever it may be. Please come on in and find a seat, have a conversation with me. Ashley 421, welcome to you. I see some new faces in here. I love it, love it. Thank you guys for joining us today. I appreciate you guys. Let's see. All right, all right, all right. Hello, hello, hello. Slow Southern Style. I like that name. Sweet Melissa, welcome to you. Good to see you. We got some UKers in here. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, wherever you are. Hope it's good for you because it's good for me to be here with you guys. I really appreciate you all so very much. We got people from all over the place in here today. That's always fun. Like I said, guys, Tomboy Charm, welcome. I don't know. I could check it out for you though, real quick, Tomboy. Let me see what we got going on. Excuse me, guys. Let me see something here. Oh, I did the Scooby Doo thing. That's that's pretty cool. Well, you're pretty talented with those things, Tomboy. I love it. I love it. I love Scooby Doo. There's another one. Check that one out, folks. That's pretty neat. What do you make that stuff with, Tomboy? That's pretty good. I like it. I love it. A cheeseburger going on there. That's pretty neat. I like that. Thank you for that. Thank you for sending me. It's just clay. That's pretty cool. Good stuff. You're pretty talented. We got some talented people in here for sure. Very cool. Very, very cool. Miss Pammy B's in the house. Come on in. Grab a seat. Thank you for joining us today. Do appreciate you. It's like say 63 people. We're climbing. 63 with 37 likes, guys. We can do better than that. Come on. We got to get this out in the algorithm if I'm going to get this out anywhere. Let's try it and do it if we can. Yeah, everything I've seen that you've created so far, Tomboy, is pretty cool. Got to say that. A Scooby snack and not the burger, Lapo. There you go. There you go. I love it. Love it. Love it. All right. Gotta get that volume up there. Come on in, everybody, please, if you will. Find yourselves a seat, get comfortable. We're going to talk about some stuff today in regards to the whole Odinism um, conversation and whether or not it's related to, in relation to the Delphi case, I should say. Um, Once again, information that was brought to my attention from the amazing Salty Sleuth. Like I said, she's got to be a pro at this case at this point, guys. She's very good with this and the things that she's got. Welcome, Deborah Thompson. Good to see you. Um, and the piece we're going to review, um, it's got some interesting pieces of info in it. You know, we talked a little bit about the scenario with why the Odinism got brought into the picture with this. Um, as per Richard Allen making a statement about it. But again, there's no relative concrete proof about this at this point. Okay. But we have to kind of look at it, talk about it, and kind of base it on, base our decisions on what we see in here and then what may come out in the future here if they can show some proof of this scenario and the fact that it's involved. You know what I mean? But it's good to know what's going on, what happened with it. No problem, SRB. And why. Okay. Again, thank you, moderators, for joining me today. I appreciate you guys so very much. Carolyn Miller, good to see you as always. That is in a sense true, Carolyn. They were presented to be a lot less, but they were a little bit more mature than what they seem to be. That's fact. Randy Fur, good to see you, brother. It's been a while. Good to have you here. Good to see you. Let me see. No, I don't think I missed anybody. If I did, my apologies. Excuse me. Again, anybody that's new, come on in, find a seat, get comfortable, please, if you will. Welcome, welcome. It's important to remember the FBI and the professor agreed that Odinism could be a factor early in the investigation, and that is true, which is why we're going to be looking and talking about this piece today. Um, I don't think it would have just came out of nowhere. It wouldn't have just been thrown out of left field if there wasn't some bit of truth to this, guys. It's got to be in here somewhere. Something about this has to be stuck in this somewhere. Okay. So that's why we're going to be looking at it. Once I get some people in here, I don't want to have to start it over because we'll have to go back to the beginning and all that stuff once we get rolling. But thank you for that comment, by the way, Salty. I appreciate that. Those things are very important to look at in that sense. So let's look at it with this. And again, guys, anything that we look at with any case, I want you guys to remember we need to use the utmost common sense and logic and be respectful, of course, of the victims and their families, period. Regardless of what case we're talking about, I don't care if it's Idaho, Delphi, or any other cases that we're looking at. We have to use those tactics with everything, folks. It's very important. My 15-year-old has found a snack, but yogurt. I've never seen a dog eat yogurt in my life. That's interesting. Very interesting. Probably good for her. It's got to be good for her. Yes, yes. That's one thing that I will always say. Obviously, from here on out, folks, is that we have to use common sense. We have to use logic, and we have to be respectful of always of victims and their families, no matter what the scenario is. Period. So that's awesome, Vicky. Kano too. Great stuff. Come on in, everybody. Get comfortable. We got some stuff to look at today. That is a fact. All right, where are we at here? All right, all right. Um, okay. Amen. Yes, ma'am. The FBI, BAU said it was related to Odin cult. Yes, that was talked about, guys. That's what I'm saying. This is everything we've talked about with this case thus far. People are trying to say, well, we don't know this for sure. We don't know that for sure. We don't know this. We don't know. Guys, this has all happened. It's not stuff that's pretend. It's not my imagination or anybody else's imagination. The things that we've looked at have all happened and are happening as we speak. Okay. And it's come from law enforcement on a lot of the facts that we presented to you guys. It's this is nothing like the other stuff we were dealing with. Okay. This is all here in front of us. I have said this every time we talk about it. Welcome, Miss Sherry. Good to see you, dear. Um, Everything we talk about in this case, it's there. I can show you. Oh, I can show you what I'm talking about every time we say it. Okay. So it's very important to remember that, and it's all fact based information. Thank you, Salty. Shit. I'm telling you, I was speaking to this lady this morning and I said, I think she's reading my mind because we're kind of in the same junction with everything we talk about, think about when it comes to this case. I'll start thinking about something. She sends me something about what I'm thinking about. It's insane, but I appreciate it. It is. It is all fact based information, guys. And I made sure, as I told you last week, that because we're working together on this a lot. She's helping me with a lot of this, as is Molly and a couple other people. We are being very, very careful to bring you nothing but as much fact-based information as possible because it's important especially in this case to see that. Um, there's all sorts of other things that we could throw at you about this, but I'm not going to because it's you've seen the mess that Idaho got into, okay? With a lot of not just everywhere, all over the place. I don't want that going on with this because this case is in so much trouble as it is. It doesn't need any more. Okay. So we got to stick to the facts, folks, as much as we possibly can on this. And that's why I keep saying we need to use logic and common sense and respect the families and the victims deeply with this one, just as much as we should with any other case. So I appreciate that very, very much from you guys. Very much. Come on in and grab a seat, everybody. I mentioned a few things last video, how the bodies were moved, two people moved, literally one, but yeah, absolutely, Carolyn. Absolutely. Absolutely. Come on in, guys. Get comfortable. I appreciate you guys. Um, really, really appreciate you guys supporting the channel, myself, and supporting this investigation as you are to try to make sure that it is getting seen um and being spoken about the way that it needs to be. Welcome, Jackie Young. Good to see you today, and all the meatballs. It's great to have you guys here jumping into sauce with me today as we spill a little bit of that sauce out and talk about some of these things that we really need to talk about. So You are all greatly appreciated today, more than you know. Thank you for that. Please, please, on your way in the door, don't forget to hit that like button. Just leave a little bit of DNA there so that we can keep this rolling, guys. Get this out in that algorithm and do it the way we got to do it and make it right. We got 46 likes with 86 people. We can do this. No, I don't. Yeah, I think you might have, Salty. I changed it up today with a little bit of a different intro that I have that Stevie put together for me. It's pretty cool. It's a little bit different than normal, but welcome either way to everybody. Lisa and Cannoli, good to see you. V. Oakley, welcome. Come on in. Hit that like button on your way in the door, guys. We're at 48 likes with 87 people. We can make that better, I think. We really got to get this in that algorithm, as we do with every case we talk about, so that it can be seen by everybody and anybody. So please do that, if you will, folks. All right, I'll give you guys just a moment for a few more people to come in here. Get yourselves comfortable. I'm going to step away for about 30 seconds. I'll be right back. Hello, hello. Thank you for your patience, guys. Sorry about that. I had to grab something. By the way, I did receive in the mail today. Somebody purchased something via the Amazon wish list as a birthday gift for me. It said, I appreciate that so very much. It's a stand to be able to mount my monitors on the back of my desk to give me more room and bring it up so where it's easier for me to see. I very much appreciate that. I don't see that person in here if I have it right. Annie Ruler, I believe it was. But if you can hear me, Annie, I greatly appreciate that so very much. That was so nice of you. More than you know. Um, See Materna, how are you? Good to see you today. Come on in. Pugalier, that's cute. Randy says, I never understood why people just don't hit the like button when they join a room or watch a video. It takes nothing, it supports everything you watch. That's a fact. Some people probably just don't even think about it because they're distracted by the person talking or something, Randy. It could be. You never know. Absolutely. She's very sweet, Doodle. Very sweet. Yeah, I've been told that a lot too. It's funny you said that, Salty, that there's a few people that have really good like sound systems in their vehicle and said that they love listening to my intro music in their car because it hits really good and it sounds great. And I was like, well, okay, good. Oh, thank you, Seema. Thank you very much. And same to you. Yeah, we're getting there. We got most of the house completely decorated. MIA, welcome to you. Good to see you. Thank you for being here today. Gene Anderson, good to see you as well. I have a question about this case. Sorry if it's been answered. Why is it taking so long to go to trial? It's a good question, Gene, because the judge in the case forced the attorneys to remove themselves. Welcome, Colleen. In that being said, the trial needed to be reset again. That's why at this point where we're at with it, unfortunately. Another problem. It was pushed forward again, once again. Same to you, Randy. I hope you have a wonderful holiday season this year, my friend. I really do. Yeah, it's been a year like Idaho, and it was set for January. So we'll see what happens. If things go the way I hope they do, that the judge will either be removed or remove herself. The attorneys will be put back in play, and then they will schedule this for 70 days out from that point, and it'll be rolling. That's what I'm hoping to see happen. I don't know if it's going to happen or not, guys, but that's what I'd like to see. Excuse me. Come on in, everybody. 79 people with 61 likes. It's getting closer. It's getting closer. It really does help me, guys, when you do hit the like button and leave comments for me. YouTube likes to see that. They like to see the positive outcome of the shows from the channel, and that helps me to get in the algorithm so that I can get seen better, which in turn, in the end, helps me to grow. So, Neil Homestead, welcome to you. Good to see you. I see a lot of new names in here. That's awesome. Very awesome. Thank you guys for joining us today. For all the new people, I appreciate you guys. If you have not yet done it, please go over there to the top of the page there or wherever it is on there and subscribe. Click the bottom of the page. I think it's the bottom corner. Click on that and to subscribe to the channel, if you will. Hit the like button, please, and share this out to anybody you think might enjoy coming in here and hanging with us today on this or any day. Thank you very much, Tammy. I appreciate that. Welcome. Good to see you. Oh, Mike D. All right. Good to see you. Thank you for that. I appreciate that, my friend. The more, the better. Keep it growing. Keep it growing. We got plenty of room for more family members in here. That's a fact. So come on down, guys. All right, guys. Welcome, Lynn. GMB, good to see you. Yeah, GMB. Attorneys for Richard Allen have filed a motion for a continuance to delay the proceedings. Richard Allen waived his rights to speedy trial. Correct. And again, guys, just to give you a heads up, we are going to be jumping into that new case as well this coming week here. Michael Petit. It's a very interesting case. Our very own Doodlebug, one of my awesome mods, brought that case to my attention. We started looking at it a little bit. She's got some ties to it, and we're going to be working that one here coming pretty soon. It's a cold case, unsolved, that a gentleman spent 20 years in prison over that he shouldn't have, and it's still unsolved. So that's something that we're going to be taking our dipping our feet in the water with. So trial scheduled for January. Everything is on hold now. That's correct. Just put your tree up yesterday. Then about 4 a.m. we heard a huge crash, flipping kittens. Oh yeah. You can't really have Christmas trees when you have cats in the house, folks. It just doesn't work. My cat, I'll say all over. He never messed with it. I was surprised. The only thing he ever did was lay underneath it. I don't know if it was because the heat from the lights on it or whatever, but he loved that. MIA, thank you for that very much. And yes, Doodle, we love you and appreciate you very much. Let me see here. We're getting there. 67 likes now with 76 people. Wow, it is what it is. I don't want to hold you guys out too long here, so we'll get this thing here rolling. Again, this piece we're going to be reviewing comes through Court TV, as always, with Vinny. Gotta love it. But there's a lot of aspects to the Odinism basis that are touched upon, and it'll give you guys a different aspect to this. This is another great thing that Salty turned me on to, as always. Like I said, she's in my head before I am. So appreciate that once again, Salty, very much. And then we'll talk about this a little bit after the fact, guys. I'd like to open this up to have your guys' opinions, thoughts and theories on this, as I do typically with the other cases we've talked about. So please don't be shy when I say that. It's important to hear what you guys think. I promise you it is. We all want to hear. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Excuse me. All right. Let me know if you guys have any audio problems or anything.
More than 5 years, it was a mystery, an unsolved case with many leads, suspicious characters, and so many rumors. Investigators released very little information, but journalists, podcasters, and true crime followers all speculated on what happened to best friends Abby Williams and Libby German, two teenage girls living in the small rural community of Delphi, Indiana, a town with just 3,000 residents. On February 13th, 2017, the girls had a day off from school, and they decided to go on an outdoor adventure. They were dropped off near the Monon High Bridge, and that's where their bodies were found the next day. More than 5 years later, Richard Allen was arrested for the murders, but he is claiming his innocence, and the defense has their own theory of the case. A group of white nationalists who practice the ancient Nordic religion of Odinism murdered the girls in a ritualistic killing. They also claim the reach of these local Odinists goes all the way to the prison where he is being held. Tonight, we take a look at this alleged Odinistic conspiracy, from the scene of the murders to the suspected killers to the prison and the guards watching Richard Allen, as we continue our investigation of the Delphi murders. I'm Vinny Politan. Thank you so much for joining us tonight here on Closing Arguments, as we take a lot of time to take a look at the Delphi murders. Now, there's two ways of looking at what we're going to do this hour. Two ways to look at it. Number one, the defense is alleging all of this.
Okay? Welcome, Brian.
So it's the defense.
Good God, Miss Molly. Good to see you, dear.
Relative to this Odinism. Two ways to look at that. One, does it just kind of raise a doubt as to what's really going on here, right? And that's a tactic that is used by criminal defense attorneys in every criminal case that we cover, right? There's some way that they're trying to, they always say, muddy the waters, right? That's one way to look at what we're going to go through tonight. The other way to look at it is this the truth? Is this what really happened? Is an innocent man being charged with murder? Now, from my perspective, especially at this point of everything, actually all the time, I'm concerned with what the truth is. What is the truth? So we're going to go through this Odinism to figure out what exactly it means.
And that's what matters to me as well, too, folks,
like,
is the truth.
Yeah, it could really, mess up the prosecution. No. Tonight, we're going to try to figure out the relationship of what they are alleging to the truth of what happened to these two girls. And this is it's a horrific case. We know that. This is terrible. Terrible what happened to Libby and Abby. The murder scene was strange. There were things at this murder scene that were a little bizarre, perhaps staged, perhaps a ritual. Whatever it was, this was not a normal, and I don't want to say, there's never like anything that's normal when you talk about murder, but it's not someone is killed and then the killer just gets out of there and the body is just left wherever it was. There was something that was done at that scene afterwards, and then the clothing, all of it. It was strange. And the question is, what's the significance of all of that? We're going to dive into that tonight. Richard Allen is saying, I didn't do it. He's saying the Odinists did it. I mean, it's a clear finger they are pointing in this case. And we're going to take a look. We'll take a look at the scene. We'll also take a look. We won't name anyone, but we'll take a look at the people that he's pointing the finger at and what circumstances surrounding those people that have the defense alleging that Richard Allen is innocent and these other people are guilty of this horrific murder. And then we've got to take a look at what's happening in that prison where he's being held. He's alleging that you've got some prison guard pagans who are practicing Odinism. That it's not just the murder scene, it's the murder scene, it's the killers, and it's the people who are guarding him inside the prison. So we're learning more this week. We've got to take some of these pieces and figure out, is it a case where there's just a little trace of truth?
By the way, guys, this came out about a month ago. Just to give you guys a heads up on the timeline.
To it, and then it's kind of being expanded out, or is there something to this? Because again, this is a case, took 5 years to get to this point for an arrest. But now the defense has turned it around and said, well, wait a minute, this is something completely different. So let's begin at the prison, because this is the latest stuff and information that we've gotten, because we've got a response from the prosecution and the prison guards themselves. So the defense in their memorandum is alleging that members of a pagan Norse religion, Odinism, predates Christianity, hijacked by white nationalists. So it's an actual religion, but it's been hijacked by white nationalists who ritualistically sacrificed Abigail Williams and Liberty German. That is clear. That's what their allegation is. That's who did it. The evidence shows that during his pretrial incarceration at the Westville Correctional Facility, Richard Allen has been monitored, intimidated, and mentally abused by correctional officers who are also members of the Odinite cult. Well, how would he know that? Here's the allegation. These Westville corrections officers boldly wore patches on their Department of Corrections uniforms that proclaimed, "In Odin we trust," along with another patch displaying symbols of Odinism, the interlocking triangles. Big allegation, right? On their uniforms, they are wearing these Odinist symbols.
Now, something you can't lie about that. They were seen on the uniforms. They've been since made to remove them, but I just don't. I don't think it's right, because there's multiple different facets of people that are in prison. Okay, a guard should not be able to do that, in my opinion, because I think it's a conflict of interest. For one, but it's awful convenient that he makes this comment and then come to find out that these people are working in the prison that he's sent to. I don't know.
Symbols and being very bold about it. So what was the response from the prosecution and from those prison guards? We've got that for you tonight. The state's response was, and again, we're not.
Yeah, Salty, and I agree. I hope a full investigation is launched. Separation of church and state should never have been allowed, and it's fishy to say the least, the very, very least. I agree.
Naming any of the corrections officers here, that both Sergeant X and Sergeant X have worn patches that refer to Odinism. That those patches reflect that Sergeant Unnamed and Sergeant Unnamed's religious beliefs are not associated with any kind of cult. So they are Odinists? That's what I'm hearing. Now, affidavit from each of these correctional officers. We begin with number one. I have been an acting supervisor in APOD, where the defendant is housed since late February, early March 2023, that I do not practice Odinism and that Norse paganism heathenry is my practicing religion.
Okay, so he's actually stating that he practices this religion. Okay, that's fine if you're doing it the correct way. Okay, so that's being stated that he does practice that. You know how this goes, guys. And like I said, this has been something, in my opinion, that has been used as, it can be looked at in two ways, in my opinion, but it's been twisted. It has been completely twisted. Okay, it's not what it's supposed to be, in my opinion.
So it's a different form of paganism.
Welcome, Nikki.
I guess Nordic, because it's Norse, right? Heathenry, not Odinism. I don't know the difference. I'm sure there probably is a difference. You know, there's a difference between Roman Catholics and Greek Orthodox and other types of Christians. I get it. But it's still interesting. Now, here's the big one. I do wear patches.
This part is the part that's going to bother me. Here's the thing, guys. I do wear patches on my uniform that identify me as one who practices Norse paganism and heathenry. Why? And I'm not talking down about, sorry about the echo, guys. I'll fix it when we go back on. I'm not talking down about the religion whatsoever. Don't get me wrong. But I'm Roman Catholic. When I was go to work, I would not wear patches that stated I was Roman Catholic. I know people that are Protestant. They don't wear patches that state that they're Protestant. People that are Lutheran or any of that, people, you don't see them wearing patches that display what religion they wear. Why did they have to wear them? Were they wearing them as a form of intimidation for him to see that and intimidate him in some sense? I mean, it's just this is an assumption, folks. I'm not saying that it's real or what it is. I'm just saying it makes me curious. Why were they wearing them on their uniforms? You know what I mean? Think about that for a minute.
On my uniform that identify me as someone who practices Norse paganism, heathenry. The patches are real. The patches are real. But says, I am not part of a cult. I am not part of a radical hate group. I have never had a one-on-one conversation with the defendant where I tried to influence him in any way. Correctional officer number 2.
And that's him stating that out of his own mouth, that he never did that. But how do we know? How do we know? Because we didn't see it. I could say that. You don't know me. I don't. It's words are words, guys. There's no proof of it either way, unfortunately. But again, these are just the words from his mouth. Remember that too.
I do not practice Odinism. I do wear patches on my uniform that can be, but are not associated with Odinism. Can be? So
they can be, but are not associated. How does that work? If it can be, but it's not. That one right there really blew my mind. But anyway.
It's an Odinistic patch that, yeah, you could look at it that way, or you could look at it, I guess, a different way, right? I guess if someone was wearing a cross, you could say, well, it's a T. It wasn't a cross. I don't know. That the patches pay the utmost respect to my religious higher power, the same way a Christian person would wear a cross. There you go. Okay. How about that, folks? How about that? Let's bring in my guests. Joining me tonight in Indianapolis, Indiana, hosts of the Murder Sheet podcast. Make sure you download tonight, Anya Kane and Kevin Greenlee. And in Salt Lake City, Utah, I saw him shaking his head. Retired police commander, host of the Profiling Evil podcast, also an expert on religious cults. Mike King is with us. All right. I'll get to you in a second, Mike, because I know you got a lot to say about this. All right, Anya and Kevin. So this was the week where we had the response. And am I reading anything wrong? And do you have more information that it seems these guards, 2 of these guards, were wearing patches associated, whether directly or loosely, or could be interpreted as Odinism?
Yeah, so it's interesting. And we've learned a lot about heathenry and paganism since all this came out. But heathenry is a blanket term that refers to people who believe in the Germanic gods of old, the Norse gods of old. And that includes people who are not racist, they're not in cults, they're just normal people like you and I, like just like how I'm a Roman Catholic, right? And that's their religion, nothing wrong with that. Odinism refers to a slice of that community that takes that and is white supremacist, they're linked to prison gangs. So basically calling all people who are heathens Odinists is a bit like calling all Mormons or people of the Church of the Latter-day Saints, affiliating them with followers of Warren Jeffs who run.
So I want you guys to understand that clearly what she's saying there, because she's right. Just like what I just said I'm Roman Catholic, so on and so forth. That's what I want. It's for you guys, and that's why I'm doing this. So you guys understand this too. Just like anybody else, there's multiple religions out there, guys. Lots and lots of different religions, and that's what this is. It's just another religion, okay? But it has been taken and twisted, if this is what happened, into something dark that it shouldn't have been. I have a few people in my chat here that follow these religions, okay, that know what they are, and they're highly upset about the way this has been put out there. Whoever did this, if they did it, the way they projected this religion to be what it is, because that's not what it is. Welcome, Rach. Good to see you. If that's what happened, and I'll explain what I think it could be after we watch this and get a little bit more into it. It was done awfully. That's fact, Seema, and it was not the way it should be. That's a big part of it all. It's been around for a long time, Gene. It actually has. It really has. It's just not something that is talked about that often, as much as you hear like Catholicism or Lutheran or any of those religions. But it's been around for a long time. It really has. I looked into it. I actually covered a show about a month or so ago that showed it and what it was. But we're going to explain it more, guys, so you guys can understand all about it.
Runs a polygamous cult that targeted young children. So it's kind of like the defense is painting with a very, very broad brush when they refer to basically all symbols associated with heathenry as being directly linked to Odinism, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does. It does. And we've been saying from the beginning, freedom of religion in this country. You can practice whatever you want. I mean, this religion predates Christianity. It's been around a long, long time. But how common is it? Because before this, I'll be honest, never heard of it. Don't have any friends who have ever discussed it with me if they practice it or if they know people that practice it. In all your research, you're finding that it's more common than we might think?
I think it's interesting because we've definitely found and heard from a lot of pagans and heathens who've reached out to us saying, I in no way am involved with child murder or child sacrifice. That's not what me and my fellow members of the faith are about. So we've definitely heard more about it now just because it's being sort of targeted by the defense in their scheme of a grand conspiracy involving Odinists across the state. And so I think it's probably a little more common than we might think. And again, most heathens are very normal, just nice people. Odinism, the sect, the kind of side of things that aren't so nice, that is linked to white supremacy, criminal gangs, prison gangs. So that is where you actually do get people who are, maybe more, concerning, I suppose.
Right, and that's where the defense says that it's been hijacked by white nationalists, which would be folks in prison. And the question is that where these prison guards are? Or are they on the other side?
And that's part of the problem with understanding this, okay? As he just stated, that the statement was that it's been hijacked by white nationalists, okay? Which you guys know what that means. And if you, how can I say this? It like what he was, what Vinny's saying is that really what's happened, or is it the other? Does it go the other direction? Okay. And yeah, that's a good point, SRB. Any religious sect can have offshoots. That's fact. Roman Catholic has variations of theirs. Lutheran is actually a variation of a Catholicism. I don't know many other religious sects. I do know a bit about them, and so on and so forth. But it's basically that they're taking the basis of this religion, what seems to have happened here in this sense. I see you, Molly. Unless you weren't waving at me. They're taking this, if this is what happened here, they took this religion itself and they took upon themselves to turn it into something like that they wanted it to be for themselves for whatever reason, if that's the case. Okay. They didn't take it and use it the way it was supposed to have been being used, in a sense. Okay, if that makes any sense to you guys. There'll be more to it as we go on. I will show you guys more to explain it.
Side of this. All right, Mike King, when this all came down, we were like, there's no way that you're allowed to wear these patches if you're a prison guard. Like you wouldn't be able to wear, you know, whether it's the Star of David or something that would show you're a Christian, a cross, you know, Jesus. I don't think you would do that in your actual, but apparently it was permitted. So what are you taking away from this tonight, Mike?
That is the question right there, CL. In my opinion, the patch seems like a distraction. How would the prison allow them to alter their uniforms unless it means something specific to the prison? Thank you very much. Like I said, okay, I'm Catholic and I never wore a patch on my clothing, even when I was with the fire department that stated that I was Catholic. Okay. You know, I never seen anybody ever wear a patch on any of their police uniforms that I've ever dealt with, or firefighter uniforms, EMS uniforms that had anything based on what religion they celebrated or that they followed. Never. So that makes no sense to me. I'm taking this as in sort that it was some form of an intimidation tactic, is what it seems to look like. Okay. Why all this? Because I've never heard of it. My brother-in-law was a CO, and they don't do that kind of stuff. They don't do that kind of stuff. Okay, they just don't. Most people, if they're celebrating or presenting the religion that they have a tendency to follow, they wear something like this. Okay, I have my religious medals that I wear, my crucifix and my medals around my neck on my chain. And a lot of people do stuff like that. You don't wear patches on your clothing to show it. I've never seen that before. I'm sorry. And in a prison situation or a prison setting, does that seem like something that is normal or accepted? And if so, why were they made to remove them? Think about it, folks. It to me, it is nothing more than an intimidation factor. Period. Okay. Never have I ever seen or heard of this before. I have like I said, my brother-in-law is a CO. I know a couple other people that work at the local prison by us that I know personally. They don't do it. They've never heard of it. They're not allowed to do that kind of thing because of what they said here a few minutes ago. There are certain sects inside of prisons that are grouped together in certain little categories that those things would support in a sense. A CO cannot support a prison gang. That's just not something you can do. Okay. You're not going to have a job if that's the case. So again, let's go back to this scenario here. I truly feel, in my opinion, and it's just my opinion, that it was an intimidation factor. That's all I'm saying. Let's move forward.
That once again, expect the unexpected in these kinds of cases that we look at on court TV, Vinny. I mean, I was one who stood up on your show and said, I don't believe it. And I'm still scratching my head thinking, who made the rule that allowed that kind of whackery to happen? There's a thing called separation of church and state. And the inmate deserves to know that this is a fair and impartial system. The people working in that system need to know that I don't have to share what my favorite kind of brownie is or anything else. I need to go and do a job of ensuring that inmates remain in a facility, that they're given opportunity to grow and develop and hopefully get better, but that we.
And that's it right there, guys. That's it right there. The job of a correctional officer is to protect and enforce the rules as well as the inmates in a prison setting. Nothing more, nothing less. If I was put into a prison situation and I see somebody wearing something that I know that I spoke out about, I'm going to take that as a threat to me. And it basically states that, hi, we're here and we're watching you, which they are watching everything this man does. So you better watch what you say and do. That's intimidation, folks. Think about it, okay? And I have a huge problem with the way that went down, as I do with everything else that has happened thus far in this case. I'm sorry, but it's wrong.
Protect the community.
That's a great, there it is, right there. How many Odinists do we have working in government? Who knows? Could be thousands, but it doesn't matter because they don't broadcast it. and it has no effect on their job nor anything else because it's a religion, okay? And they treat it as such, not as an intimidation factor, folks. That's what's wrong with it.
Immunity from them when they're in there, and I'm just so disappointed in the fact that they were allowed to do that, and hopefully when that rule came down and they pulled those off of their uniforms, somebody did a serious relook at what a uniform should look like.
And Anya and Kevin, this was the warden permitted it, right? It wasn't like these were rogue officers who were breaking rules there. This was actually permitted.
Yes, it was permitted. And in fact, one thing that was interesting in these new materials that came out is that it was also emphasized that these two guards happen to have very good records. They don't have records of abusing prisoners. They certainly don't have any records of threatening prisoners or trying to coerce them into making certain statements. So I think it's pretty clear that if it was against the rules, the guards would not have been wearing the patches.
All right, got some more to share with everyone tonight. And the reason why this is extremely significant is part of the evidence against this defendant is a confession. Take a look. On April 3rd, 2023, Richard Allen, and he's in prison at this point, made a phone call to his wife, Kathy Allen. In that phone call, Richard Allen admits several times that he killed Abby and Libby.
Now, this, you guys, is where we had spoken about the admission of guilt that he made while it was in prison. In prison, not in the county jail, but while in prison, okay, where it says, in that phone call, Richard Allen admits several times that he killed Abby and Libby. Investigators had the phone call transcribed, and the transcription confirms that Richard M. Allen admits that he committed the murders of Abigail Williams and Liberty German. He admits several times within the phone call that he committed the offense as charged, and his wife, Kathy Allen, ended the call abruptly. Why all of a sudden, after this man, okay, has blatantly claimed that he was innocent of this? He's innocent of this. I didn't do this. He turns around and makes a statement and puts it out that this wasn't an Odinistic, the Odinists did it, or something like that, in a sense. He goes to prison where there's people that are watching over him, are in control of his life, wearing patches, supporting Odinism, in a sense. Then he makes these confessions over the phone to his wife that he did this, and she abruptly ends the call. Let's put 1 + 1 equaling 2, and then 2 + 2 to equal 4, and let's put the puzzle pieces together here. To me, this is crazy. I'm sorry, it just doesn't make sense. Welcome, Mary. It's great to see you. Thank you for joining us today. Mary says that her dad is retired prison chaplain. I'm sorry, chaplain. Is that what you're trying to say? I'm sorry. Northeast, and he didn't believe it till the pictures came out. He also said that in prison, Odinism is used to create a racial hierarchy within the prison system. Okay. Thank you, Mary. Thank you for joining us today.
Investigators had the phone call transcribed, and the transcription confirms that Richard Allen admits that he committed the murders of Abigail Williams and Liberty German. He admits several times within the phone call that he committed the offenses as charged.
Thank you so much, Brandy, for that.
Allen ends the phone call abruptly. So then the defense said corrections officers were within earshot of every conversation between Richard and his attorneys, and even between Richard and his wife, close enough that Richard would have to be worried about any conversation with his attorneys and with his wife being overheard by Sergeant Blank and Sergeant Blank or other corrections officers. Corrections officers even required that Richard Allen be positioned facing the window where the corrections officer was videotaping the attorney visits with the handheld camcorder.
There again, once again, like I said, everything this man has done has been recorded and watched by the correctional officers of the prison. You're not allowed. It is not their business what goes on between him and his attorney. That's not legal, folks. I'm sorry, but it's not. And in a form, it is in a form of harassment, CL, and intimidation. As if to say he can look up and know and see that they're filming this with a camcorder. We're watching you. We see what's going on. You don't think that's intimidating to this guy? And I definitely don't think that's fair treatment of any prisoner. I've never heard of that happening before. Client attorney privilege, that's the way that is, folks. That's private. That's his right to have those interactions be private, but they're being filmed and recorded. That's insane. Why? That's the question, is why. And again, Brandy, thank you for that. Guys, I wanted to say thank you real quick to anybody that's donated to support this channel. In that sense, it's really needed at this point. It definitely helps to keep me going, folks, to pay those bills, to keep this up and running. So thank you all very much for any of you that have done that. I greatly appreciate that. So again, that's what I'm getting from this, folks, and it really bothers me. I don't believe in this confession. I personally don't believe in this confession. I feel that this was 100% coerced based on intimidation. Okay, that's my opinion. I'm not saying it's fact, it's just my opinion, but from looking at what I'm seeing, that's why I believe in that. Okay, I really do. Excuse me. Sorry if I'm getting feedback, guys.
Richard would therefore not be able to privately discuss anything with his attorneys, such as, quote, "The guards are telling me that my wife and family will be killed unless I call my wife and tell her that I killed those girls."
What would you do if somebody said that to you? And I don't know for a fact that that was said. You don't know. We don't know for a fact that those things were said to him. But I'm telling you right now, based on everything else we're seeing, it doesn't seem that far-fetched to me. It really doesn't seem that far-fetched to me. Thank you, Murky. And yes, I will definitely pull that out as well. I appreciate that. Welcome, by the way. I don't know that it happened or it didn't happen. That's the problem. We don't know. We weren't there. We weren't standing in there. It's his word and it's their word. We don't know either word. That's the thing. There's no proof of it. So I don't know. And I'm not saying that it happened because I can't. I can't say that it happened. And I won't. But again.
So Anya and Kevin, this is the significance of all of this, because he's saying, or the defense is saying, this confession to my wife was made under duress and direct threat by these officers who had been wearing those patches.
Yeah, I think the most telling thing about that page is the associated footnote, number 15, in which the defense attorneys make it clear that he never said anything to that effect, that the guards never threatened to kill his wife in exchange for a confession, but, it could have happened.
It was basically speculation on the part of attorneys. It was basically speculation on the part of Allen's attorneys, and it is important to note that this is something that is strongly denied by the prosecution in these filings. They have these guards giving sworn affidavits under penalty of perjury, strongly asserting that they never made any threats to Richard Allen, never tried to coerce Richard Allen into making any statements.
Yeah, that's where the memo gets a little conspiratorial in my.
And that, understand that, folks, before you judge one way or the other. There it is. Okay. And I knew that was in here. I wanted you to hear that as well. They spoke to prosecution, spoke to them, interviewed them. They sworn affidavits. They never did this, did that. The prosecution is strongly denying it. That's fine. I respect that. People lie. I'm not saying that they're lying. I'm just saying people lie. It's okay. If you have to save your job, you're gonna lie. It is what it is, guys. I'm not saying that's what's going on either. I'm just saying these things are all possibilities, fact. We don't know. People are people, okay? That's all I'm saying to you. And I'm not telling you to decide one way or the other. I'm saying, I'm sorry if I'm too loud. If I'm too loud, guys, please, let me know. People can lie on either side of that, folks. They could be lying or he could be lying. Either way. The defense could be lying about something. The prosecution could be lying about something. This is how they work their cases, folks. They twist the truth on things. The defense could be doing the same thing. I'm telling you, I'm just showing you the things that are out here, and watching how it folds or how it unfolds and what could come from it. That's all, so that you guys know why this has been brought into effect. Okay.
My opinion, but it's definitely an interesting strategy.
Oh, it's a strategy, but you have to have a good faith belief if you're going to allege that in court. You can't drop footnotes in the courtroom. I don't think. So, Mike. So this is an important piece of evidence for the prosecution, because this is a case that, directly linking this defendant. The obvious way you link a defendant to a crime is through a confession, and the jury has to believe that this confession is not coerced, that it was voluntary. What are your thoughts about everything that's going on allegedly in this prison and him making this call? Does it have the ring of truth to you that he would confess to his wife?
Yeah, it does have a ring of truth to me that he would confess, Vinny. And I think back to one of your guests who talked about the stressors that are on inmates and the need to kind of cleanse at certain points throughout the incarceration period. I think this thing's going to really boil down to transparency and what protocol is in that facility. Is he being treated differently, and do they have a reason to justify him being treated differently, or is this the way that every inmate is being treated in there? And boy, I agree with Anya and Kevin on this concept of the defense merely bringing up, hey, by the way, this could have happened. Well, aliens could have beamed into his room and said something too. And I just think it was really inappropriate. Again, I have to keep pinching myself and saying, wait and see as more evidence comes out, because this case keeps just surprising me day after day.
Yeah, the only way that gets in front of the jury is if Richard Allen gets on the witness stand. To me, that's the only way, right? It's the defense could potentially put it in their opening statement and then hide behind attorney-client privilege, as the good faith basis. I've seen that done successfully in trials, but to get it in front of the jury, it has to come from Richard Allen, because he would be the one that received the threat. And maybe, I don't know why the defense would put it out that way, but it could have something to do with attorney-client privilege and not wanting to reveal or get locked into anything that he may or may not say if and when he chooses to testify, but we shall see. All right, here's the good news. Mike King is staying with us, but Anya and Kevin are taking off. It's the Murder Sheet podcast. Download it. Everything we do here in even greater detail.
Yes, Dean, absolutely.
Great to see you, Anya and Kevin.
Thanks, guys.
All right, Mike, you don't go anywhere. All right, when we come back, we're going to go back to the scene, folks. We're going to take a look at the scene plus coming up next hour.
In Sarasota County.
That's the killer. That's the killer. Now, did he act alone? Did he act with others? Or is it not the killer? Is it Richard Allen? This case has really taken on a life of its own at this point. It took 5 years. 5 years, nothing. Now we've got all these different things happening at once. So let's get to the scene of the crime. And we have put together this graphic that is based upon the description from this defense filing, this defense memo. So you have Libby laying flat on her back, her left arm stretched above her head, touching the base of the large tree. Her right arm was placed along the side of her body. A large branch was placed on her left shoulder. The branch extended above Libby's head and below her legs. Two smaller branches formed a V where her legs joined. Both sides of the V extended upwards towards Libby's head. The branch extended across Libby's body on a line from the right shoulder to the left shoulder. Then we go to Abby, just feet away from Libby at an angle. Abby's legs are feet away from Libby's legs, their heads just a few feet apart. Abby was on her back, elbows bent with her arms placed on her chest. Abby's left hand hand and arm were the left side of the face, right hand and arm near the right side of her face.
Thank you, Brandy.
Left leg was straight, right leg was bent at the knee. Her bent right leg was under her left leg. 3 tree branches placed on top of Abby in the shape of an asterisk. Above Abby's head, smaller sticks placed over her hair, crudely mimicking horns or antlers. Okay, that's the scene. That's the scene. Let's bring in our guest, still with us, retired police commander, host of the Profiling Evil podcast, Mike King. In Orange County, California tonight, investigative producer and author of Forest for the Trees, Chris Todd, is back with us. And finally, in Jacksonville, Florida, retired FBI Special Agent Jennifer Koffendorfer is with us. Okay, great to see everyone. So we've got these prison guards allegedly wearing these patches. Now the allegation is that this scene is ritualistic in nature. Chris Todd, what are your thoughts about the scene itself? There's a lot of strange things going on here.
Well, and also just to get my tidbit out tonight is now the discovery file is being leaked. So now supposedly the real photographs of the bodies are being leaked to podcasters. So that's the latest thing that I'm getting flooded with over the last 48 hours. So
wow.
Yeah. So I'm not going to comment too much about it, but from what I'm sensing is when people talk about the sticks and the shapes, I'm basically getting some.
I believe they heard it, Cat Lady.
Oh, it's a ritual. And I'm getting some people being like, oh, it looks like they're crudely buried in a very dark manner. So there's something there for sure.
So it seems, Jennifer Koffendorfer, what we may have here is one of those like ink blot tests, right? You put it out there, some people see something, some people don't see something. Depends what you're looking for or not looking for.
That's right. Sorry, Vinny. Yes, that's right. I think that those sticks really probably serve to try to mask the bodies and cover them up. But the way they were laid, it made these antler shapes, it made these formations that the defense is saying, look, this is an Odinistic style burial, if you will. And that's what they're running with. Like you said, their ink blot says Odinist. Mine says covering the bodies.
Mike King, you studied religious cults, the way they act, the way they do things. Let me throw out a couple scenarios here. Have you ever heard of like a ritualistic killing done by one person, or is it done by a group when they're doing it as a ritual, as some sort of a sacrifice?
Oh, no, absolutely. There are individuals who have committed ritualistic crimes. Sometimes that can go as far as even a predator who takes someone and they know that victim, for instance, is religious in nature, and they will use that against them. They will tell them, I'm going to kill your puppy if that's what's important to him. If you tell anybody, somebody else may say, God's going to condemn you forever. But individuals absolutely have taken lives and done ritualistic kinds of things. There are a few examples of groups that have done those kinds of things. And so I think it's something you said was really important in the beginning, Vinny, and that is, are we seeing what we believe is there, or are we believing what we're seeing? And we have to be really careful when we look at the staging that goes on in some of these kinds of cases. We have to think about the predatory mindset as an individual goes from an organized offender into this disorganized state that many offenders do when the crime scene starts to get out of control. And then we start seeing experimentation and all kinds of goofy things happening in these kinds of cases. So we can't read too much into this until we start looking at it in totality. And like our other guests have said, we don't know what this really means. We haven't seen the photographs. I hope we don't see the photographs, and I hope that
I think we all are. Once it goes on the internet, everyone's going to be able to see it. That just scares
the wits out of me, Vinny. People shouldn't have to look at that. And frankly, we don't know. It could be somebody trying to cover them up and the sticks fell in the right places, or it could be very ritualistic in nature.
So, Chris, I mean, you investigated this story, and now we're hearing about Odinism, heathenry, this Norse paganism. Did you come across that? Was it something that hey, there's like this thing that's going on out there? Because the picture the defense is trying to paint, so you got prison guards doing it. You've got this ritualistic scene, and then we've got specific people who are practicing all of this. Did you come across any of that before the defense kind of laid all this stuff out?
Very early on, a lot of the hardcore Delphi people were talking about that. But this is a whole new ballgame. This is another world where they're bringing in the prison guards and the patches and Odinism. And so it was talked about this rune on the tree, and now that picture's online of the blood. And so it was, but now it's like mainstream. And I really feel, I smell some desperation by Richard Allen and his defense team. And if I was Richard, I wouldn't be happy with what they're doing. And I wouldn't be happy with what Richard's doing either. I think it's kind of a mess right now with what's going on with them, trying to blame other people, when there were some serious suspects very early on. Now we're going into a patsy. The guards are coercing him. It's kind of like spinning out of control. That's what I feel. I know people,
No, this is what we're trying to understand tonight, is exactly what I mean. So, Jennifer, sometimes in a trial, there's always two sides. And right now we've got, the allegations, we've got this defense response. And I say, well, what would be in the middle of all this? Like, is it possible that, do we know anything about Richard Allen's background? Is it possible that he's an Odinist? Like, is that in play here? And that this becomes a good cover because, all right, there might be other Odinists out there, and like, the scene has some ritualistic aspect to it? Or what does this scene strike you as? Does it strike you as a crime of opportunity, something that was pre-planned? Or is it a case of some sexual deviancy? What do you venture is happening at this scene?
Well, it's always never made sense that Richard Allen just happened upon these two ladies, these young ladies, and he was prepared. He had a knife, he had a gun, and, was he hunting for victims, or did he just happen upon them? None of this really makes much sense, but I will say, with those patches being identified and those individuals saying, yes, they're Odinistic type patches, that puts some meat on the bone to me for the defense. From the standpoint of, a lot of people thought there's no way prison guards have these sorts of patches. Well, guess what? They did. And what's also interesting is, just because you don't have a patch doesn't mean you're not an Odinist. And how did Richard Allen even know what those patches meant? He knew. Why did he know?
That's a great point as well. All right, stay where you are, everyone, because when we come back, we're going to talk about those specific suspects. We're not going to name them, just going to give them numbers. But the defense has named them in this memorandum, and we're going to talk about the evidence that they say implicates them as the killers.
I've worked hard all my life. I've gone from being a local reporter to becoming a law.
Again, we're going through what the defense is saying here. And I said two approaches to this. Is this something that could muddy the waters at trial, or is this the actual truth? Richard Allen is innocent and somebody else did it. Let's get to who they are pointing their fingers at. As always, we are not naming the names. We're giving these suspects that the defense is pointing at numbers. So let's take a look. This is from the defense. This is from the actual Odin report that was done by investigators in the case. Person one's son was dating Abby Williams at the time of the murders. On February 17th, 2017, the FBI interviewed person one at the Delphi Police Department, and person one said the following. His son was 16 years old and was a friend of Abby. Person one stated that he visited Delphi every weekend to hang out with his friend, person two. When person one would go to person two's house in Delphi, he would bring his son.
Lisa.
Person one believes that is when his son would contact
What's
Abby.
up, Willie?
Person one said he and his friend, person two, started a, quote, tribe of Asatru followers. They had meetings at person two's house on Sundays and have 5 or 6 regular members. Asatru is interchangeable with Odinism. Person one's ex-wife told investigators when person one was intoxicated, he told her person one and person two got into a fight while near a river in the woods conducting a ritual. One of them did something the other no longer agrees with, and they no longer talk. She said the river was near person two's house. The friendship between person one and person two appeared to end around February 13th, 2017. That's the day of the abduction and murder. The girls were abducted February 13th. Person two's home was 3.1 miles or a 7-minute drive to the entry point to the area where the girls were murdered. And that's from part 1 of the Odin report. Let's bring back in our guests, Mike King, Chris Todd, Jennifer Koffendorfer. Chris, your thoughts about person one and person two here. Again, more of these pagan, Odinist heathens in Indiana.
Well, I have a photo of the son with, supposedly he was dating Abby, actually. And I know who they're talking about, his father, which we're not saying anybody's names. And like Nick McClellan said, the prosecutor says this is colorful, but lacking any basis of truth, right? And very unprofessional. So he's already stated that too. So again, we're starting to pull in this conspiratorial angle. And also they mentioned one of these gentlemen supposedly has the mental capacity of an 8-year-old. Okay, that's in the Franks motion. So this is the circus that we're creating with these guys. And I don't know if we're making them famous or we're making them infamous. I don't know what's going on, boots on the ground there, but it's a little out of control in my eye.
Jennifer Koppendorfer, your thoughts about person one, person two, also allegedly practicing this rare, unusual, pre-Christian Nordic religion?
Well, again, Vinny, now we're seeing, again, a little bit more meat on the bone, that this just isn't some fantasy or something that isn't really practiced anymore, that they actually had meetings, that they came together. And then certainly this fight that occurred at this time frame, could give someone pause. I think the defense is just merely trying to establish some sense of reasonable doubt in this case. And it's building. The building blocks are coming along for them.
All right, fasten your seatbelt, Mike King. Here we go. This is from the Odin Report Part 2. On April 7th, 2017, person one posted a photo of his hand marked with a rune resembling the formation of sticks found on Abby's body. Trooper Purdy learned person one was an Odinist and looked at his Facebook page where he saw a photograph of 2 girls apparently lying on the ground of the forest, posed as if they were dead with tree limbs arranged over their bodies. Person one created a creepy painting of a man believed to be Odin hanging upside down from a tree with his legs posed similar to Abby's at the crime scene. This painting also contains 2 hidden Easter eggs, including a red F rune at the base of the tree, just like the F rune painted on the tree at the crime scene. A video from February 2016 seems to show an Odinite ceremony. The ceremony is being filmed by person one, and towards the end, someone who appears to be person two uses his hand to make a marking on a tree. Person one's Facebook page links him to person three in Rushville, Indiana, different part of the state. A witness told law enforcement that on February 14th, 2017, person three told her he was in a gang, had been on the bridge with 2 girls that were killed, and that someone named Abigail was a pain and a troublemaker. In 2018, law enforcement gave this witness a polygraph test to determine if she was being truthful about person three's alleged statements, and she passed. Person three was asked to take a mouth swab for DNA testing. He then asked the trooper what would happen if his spit was found on one of the girls at the crime scene.
In that scenario in itself is a huge deal to me. Huge. And it wasn't made to be that big of a thing. Okay, here's the thing. I'm going to say this. I know there's going to be disagreements about this in here, okay? There will be. Comments like this are not acceptable. Not just because somebody is looking at the prospect of something possibly being true does not mean they're gullible. Okay, so we don't need to insult people. Is all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. We can agree to disagree on things without being rude or calling people names or anything like that. I'm asking that, please. Okay, thank you. I don't want to remove people because there's no need for rudeness, or we can disagree and still walk away and be understanding with each other. That's all it is. Thank you.
Mike King?
Yeah, I mean, that's great for the defense to be able to create doubt and question in the mind of a jury, and all of this is certainly for that purpose. The thing that is going to be interesting, in my opinion, Vinny, is whether there are other corroborating things that back these up, because there are numerous cases where people have shared insider information that is leaked out.
That is
and
correct.
They
Thank you.
purported that they had some kind of inside information. We see it in some serial killer cases. I remember Robert Ben Rhodes, how offended he was that somebody was getting credit for his murders. Same thing happened with BTK when some.
Here's the thing, though, Lynn. That is your opinion, which you're absolutely entitled to, and I respect that. She has her opinion, which she is absolutely entitled to, and I respect that as well. She is wrong. If you call it that, then that's you calling it that. That doesn't mean that it's a fact, okay? And vice versa. We have to respect each other's opinions, regardless of whether they're right or wrong. It's still an opinion and somebody's thought, okay? Nobody's, coming at you that way either, and I will not put up for it on either side. Like it was stated, we're just stating facts of the case that have been brought out from the case to show you what is happening with this case. That's all it is at this point, okay? There's no reason to get overly upset about it. Just if that's what your belief is, Lynn, you can have it, and I respect it. That's it. Not everybody's going to think the same way you do. That's all. No big deal. No big deal at all.
Somebody got wind of some of the things recovered in the investigation and then used it to confess. And we think, how would anybody ever confess to something like this? And frankly, it's just some people have such mundane lives that this is a way for them to have a form of legacy. But how do you discount the kinds of information that's coming forward? And I just hope that the prosecution has solid information that helps them say, we've excluded that because of these things.
All right, everyone stay where you are. We're doing a little change here. We're going to go into some overtime here. So Chris, Jennifer, please stay where you are. We're going to continue our discussion because I want to know about these Facebook links and any sort of connection.
At this point, she's right, Willie. And no disrespect, buddy, but we don't know if it's the wrong guy at this point. All we know is that the things that are being done in this case, the way that they're bringing the things out, the things that they're showing us, the way that he's being treated, the way that this is going down is wrong. It shouldn't be happening this way. He very well could be the right guy, okay? But the point is that he's not being treated as, even as a suspect of a murder case, as he should be. And we know what that looks like already. A lot of people have their opinions on other cases as to how that goes, okay? So just look at it in that sense. The thing is, guys, is there's different things that weigh different ways. That's okay. It's okay. At this point, we're looking at all of the facts that have been brought out on the case. And we're thinking about everything we're seeing and talking about everything we're seeing. And then at that time, you can decide what you believe is going on in your own mind, in hopes that down the road, when it comes to trial, these things will show up and will be brought out. Now, the other things that we're showing are things that shouldn't be happening, as in how the judge is acting, how the judge removed his defense team, in my opinion, illegally, and so on and so forth. Okay, those are the things that we are like standing up against, in a sense, to say that, hey, that's wrong. Why is this happening? Why isn't it being allowed to happen? That's the stuff that we are putting our own perspective opinions about on top of. Okay, these other things that we're showing are things that have already happened, things that have been brought out about the case, things that have been looked into with the case, and we're just showing it to you guys that don't know about the case, period. And if anybody has a disagreement in here, it's okay. There's no reason to get so mad about it, you guys. It doesn't pertain to anybody in here specifically, personally, nor does it to me. It pertains to Richard Allen, all the attorneys and judges involved, the victims and their families. All we're doing is showing it to you guys and giving you the ability to look at this and say, hey, what's wrong with this? How is this, unconstitutional in some senses? And why? That's what this is about, folks. There's no need to argue about anything because it's not going to change it. Okay, Sam can say one thing. Dean can say something else. They could both be right or both be wrong or either or. It doesn't make a difference because it's not going to change nothing because we're not important enough to do that. Okay, but we're just showing you guys how this works. The good thing about being able to disagree is that kind of helps work through think tanks sometimes on one aspect or the other. You can have the biggest debate about something and nobody has to win. That's the thing. Nobody has to be right or wrong. It's just a good, healthy way to talk about what is believed in the case, what has happened, to debate what you think about it. And we can still do that and walk away as friends at the end of the day, guys. That's all I'm telling you. And I've always had that in here. There's people that are going to disagree. It's okay. I disagree with people about this. People disagree with me. Thank you again, Brandy. It's not the end of the world, folks. And it's no reason to get all worked up and get your blood pressure up and get excited or upset about anything. It's not worth it. It's not. And definitely don't be calling people names because that's disrespectful and I do not put up with that. I wouldn't do that to anybody. I wouldn't expect anybody to do it to me, and neither should any of you in here. Okay? And I appreciate that very much.
To Odinism here, this stuff is scaring me. This is scaring me, especially if I'm a prosecutor in the case. But I'm not feeling like we're proving someone else did it. But stay where you are. Coming up next hour.
On the docket tonight in Dedham, Massachusetts, Karen Reed has been accused of murdering her police officer boyfriend, John O'Keefe, with her car.
Welcome back. We're talking about the Delphi murders. Our guests are still with us, and I want to break this down. And Chris, I'll begin with you. Looking at person one, Facebook posts predating the release of any of this information. Person three, alleged confession. Person three is the one described as having the reduced mental capacity. Person two is the one who's living near the murder scene, 3 miles away, but is having these rituals. Is there a grain of truth to these allegations that you came across? Let's begin with those Facebook posts.
And this will fit. I'm working a case in the Midwest of a young man that was murdered. And it's very similar to this, where some of these people will start to brag and toy with you right after the murders, a year later, in different time frames. And they know they didn't do anything, so they can say crazy stuff. Like they're saying, oh, what if somebody spit on them? Is their DNA? And you're like, whoa, 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 why are you saying that? So I've seen this before and I'm dealing with it now. And I will say, when you deal with these people and there's like multiple going back and forth, sometimes you believe them and they get you on these wild goose chases. So I think this is a case of that where they're saying certain things because they know they didn't do anything, but they want to jump in. These people are from another town. It's a different county, Rush County. And these police getting involved in this, they don't have jurisdiction. So there's a lot of layers here, but that's the basics of where I'm at now.
Yeah. And on that note, Jennifer, if we take a step back, right, because this is now a widening conspiracy, and there would have to be, I would think, some connection between person one, person two, person three, and those correction officers, right? Like they've got to connect them if they want to really bring this together to convince me that the truth is this man is innocent.
Right, Vinny. But the bigger thing that just really gnaws at me is what was done with this crime scene. in other words, is there anything from the crime scene that would connect these individuals? As an example, this rune F on the tree.
Thank you,
Did
Salty.
law enforcement do the right thing and cut out that rune and
Aloha, Austin.
and look for DNA? There would have been much, a lot of DNA on there, touch DNA from rubbing and making this rune. The sticks, we know these girls were found by citizenry that were searching. Did they rush to the girls and move the sticks in any way? What about EMS when they came up? Was anything touched? Was anything bothered? When were those pictures exactly taken? And is there DNA that could possibly connect person 1, 2, or 3 to this scene? And at the end of the day, did they have alibis? I just believe the prosecution is going to be able to hopefully make some distinctions here, whether they can even be connected, Benny.
All right. Big thank you, Mike King, Chris Todd, Jennifer Koffendorfer, working overtime.
Okay. All right. Thank you guys for being respectful mostly in here. I know there's going to be disagreements, like I said, you guys. I expect it because people disagree. If everybody thought the same thing, it would be very boring. I get it. Okay. But again, the most important thing, okay, SRB, take your time, dear, and be safe. The most important thing is that everybody sees the facts of this, that sees what's going on to this. That's why we're doing this. Not because we want to argue whether or not Richard Allen did this or Odinism did that or this and that. I mean, none of that matters, guy. I mean, it does matter, but you're what I'm trying to say is the important thing is that everybody's seeing this. This works itself up to what's going on with the judge, the attorneys, the way that Allen's being treated, has been being treated, all of that kind of stuff, and the constitutional basis of why and what. Okay. That's what I'm trying to explain. But everybody didn't know about this, needed to know about this. And this was the next step forward. Just explain all that kind of stuff. Okay. And then let me see if I can get this to come up now too. I also wanted 1 second here, please. And thank you. Hold on, guys. Sorry. Now, this thing here is this is an article I wanted you guys to see. Okay. And it just kind of gives you a little look into some of the Murky sent me this a while back, long time ago. I didn't get a chance to put it together, but I wanted to kind of mix it. I wanted to blend it with this to show you how things are being used in the wrong way. Okay. So that's all I was trying to do. What's up, Sleuthy? Good to see you, dear. Thank you for joining us tonight. Appreciate you. As always, Sleuthy's, sent me really good information on this as well, because she's pretty deep into this as well. So always appreciate that stuff too. One moment here. Trying to find the right part of this. Hold on a minute. You know what? I'm actually not going to put this one up because I have a What's up, George? Good to see ya. Legendary CEO, good to see you. I'm not. YouTube has a tendency to not like things like this, and I remember reading this before, but there's certain things in here that may get me in trouble with them. So I'm not going to put this up at this moment here, but I'm going to give you something else. So I don't want to leave you hanging for nothing. Just give me a second here, guys. I'm sorry. Uno momento. Where are we at here? 1 second. Now, there have been a lot of, I don't want to say the word. Well, I mean, I guess it's not a big deal. I'm not trying to say cult, but um, different variations of groups that have taken things like this and twisted it in the wrong way. Now, I am going to show you something too that was also put up that I have that I was actually going to show today, but I wanted to play that first because a lot of people don't understand what went on with this scenario. Okay, this is not the actual crime scene. I wouldn't show that even if I could. I don't want to do that. Um, what's up, Firefly? Good to see you. Thank you for joining us today. But this is a reenactment, basically, of how the crime scene was, so that you guys can understand that. This was from Mob Crew, and I want to show you what they did with this. Is actually really a good depiction of this. Very interesting as well. So, 1 second here with this. Yeah, that's fine, Murky. That's fine. Thank you for that. Okay, 1 second here. Again, thanks for joining us, Luthi. I appreciate you always. And where are we at here? No, I was reading through that and I was thinking about I just don't want to cause no problems with YouTube because they look for that kind of problem stuff. So anyway, like I said, what I'm going to show you is something pretty good that Mob Crew did. I don't know if you guys follow them. Check them out because they have some interesting stuff that they have put out quite often. So I want you guys to see that as well. Okay. 1 second here. And if we could drop the link for Mob Crew, I would appreciate that very much so. Very, very much so. Okay. That's true too, Legendary. Good to see you, Val. Thanks for joining us. I just noticed you were there too. Thank you for being here. Kara Willis, welcome, dear. Always happy to see you. It's been a while. Hope you're doing well. Thank you for joining us today. Okay. So, as we explained to you and showed you that when they found the victims, Abby and Libby, they were found in a sense like this. Okay. Just like you see here. Now, to me, I'm going to say this out loud because I think it's complete bullshit what has been stated with this. If I'm trying to cover up and or hide a body, I'm going to do a lot more than that because that doesn't hide anything. And it's awful. Once again, the word I don't like, coincidental, that this looks like this. Okay. That's all I'm saying, folks. So let's go from here. And boom.
Anytime near hunting season, but everything worked out well, and I was able to get everything staged,
Yeah.
set up as close as is everything absolutely it's as accurate as I could get from what I saw with the sketches that were provided.
So that's not covering anything, folks. They're laid in a pattern, a specific pattern. Okay. I've got trees all around my house. I live in the woods, basically. Okay. Leaves everywhere. Do you see the leaves all over the ground here? Lots and lots and lots of them. The easiest way to hide these two bodies would be to take all of these leaves that are all over the place and dump them on top of these bodies. Not to take, 1, 2, 3, 4 sticks and 1, 2, 3 and lay them in a pattern on top of these bodies. That's not hiding anything. That's not covering anything. That is leaving a statement, in my opinion. That's a statement right there. A message, a statement, whatever you want to say that is, that's what it is. Okay. And then to take on top of that, this one here, they took the clothes from this victim and put them on this one. It doesn't make sense. This is what it looks like it is. It's nothing. And those tree branches did not fall out of the trees and land like that. Okay? They didn't. They just didn't. That's too intricate of anything for the tree sticks or the limbs to just fall and land conveniently like that on top of both victims. Give me a break. Yeah, those are pool noodles. It's a good way to do it. But still.
Yeah, Cindy's Fires. Sorry, Steve. If you got somebody, if you can email me the picture, if you got a picture of who is missing, I'm not sure it's a him, so I'm not sure your son or family member. If you can email me before the show ends, I'll dig up my email and I can feature him before we end the show. If he just went missing, so to get the word out, be more than happy to help you. So I will just let my mods know, and then when there's a good time, we'll check my email and we'll go ahead and feature him.
Take a good look at that, folks.
Okay. So just one thing I wanted to mention before we play the video. So I was rereading the Frank's motion, and I kind of wanted to understand the actual order of the sticks and see if they actually mention how the order is placed. And they do actually mention it, at least for Libby, because I mean, Abby's pretty straightforward. But Libby, because there's a few things I had questions and concerns with, because Abby, yes, it does look like the Hegel symbol, but with Libby, what's going on here? And we have a couple theories, but one thing I wanted to mention is, as a matter of fact, now this is awesome that Court TV did this, but I realized that they actually have one of the sticks in the wrong spot. And so I'm going to go ahead and read what's in how it's worded. And I have the actual order of how they were placed. So as you can see, it says order of branches top to bottom. So number 4 is actually the first log branch, whatever, to be placed down. That's the first one. Then the V is made. So that's 2 and 3. And then the long log branch would be the last one to be placed down.
And here's something else to remember to go along with this, you guys. This was very carefully, premeditatedly done. Okay. You had to find the right length of sticks. They had to do this and that to make this sit and look the right way. This was something that took some time. It wasn't something where they went over and grabbed a handful of sticks and went, okay, we're done. Let's go. That didn't happen that way at all. This took some time and was premeditated. Okay. Wholeheartedly and fully premeditated. There were 2 victims that they did this with. They took the time to get the right length of sticks, the right size of sticks, whatever they did, it took some time to do this. It wasn't just an accidental, coincidental type scenario, folks. It was done on purpose. And again, this is definitely not to hide the bodies, because it didn't hide anything. It at the very least, it hid a couple spots on their bodies. That's it. And again, that's true too. Touching the tree could be symbolic, returning to the source. Thank you.
And that's according to this Frank's motion. It could be completely wrong, but according to their motion, this is how it's worded. But what's interesting is where this, would that be horizontal branch, where they have it is slightly in the wrong area. It's actually over her neck. and it would have probably rolled because that's the area your chest is kind of high and steep.
And I agree, Karen. This is staged. Now, I'm going to tell you something, guys. My thoughts on this being staged like this is one of two things. Okay? In my opinion. Not fact. It's just my opinion. And it's one of two things. One being this was a ritual that somebody was trying to perform. And that's why it was like this. Two, it was made to look like a ritual that somebody was trying to perform, if that makes sense to you. Meaning, one, it was really what it was, but they just didn't know what they were doing, obviously. Or two, they were purposely trying to make it look as if this was being done, and it really wasn't. It was just the reasoning to do this, if that makes sense, guys. That's what I think this is.
Steve learned this when he was recreating it, and it actually says it in this. So I'll just say that, read this out, and then we'll get back to the video. So it says the last of the 4 branches, which is number 4. That's why I named it this way. Extended across Libby's body from her right to left shoulder. This 4th tree branch connected to the V branch.
Good deal.
And it partially covered, the neck was partially covered by this
Welcome, Mama
4th
Bear.
branch.
We missed you. Good to see you.
So clearly they don't have it quite over the neck. So clearly I'm
You're welcome to join me if you'd like, ma'am.
Got that one little detail wrong. It's not a big deal, but I did notice that this would actually be moved up to the.
Well, and that goes along with what I was saying. I just didn't add that in, Sleuthy. But yeah, like I said, one, it could have been exactly what it is to send that message, so on and so forth, was why they were doing it. Or two, to make it look falsely like that's what somebody was trying to do. So yeah, but that's a good point. Could have also been staged to send a message. Only the message sender and likely the intended recipient of the message will know what it means. And you have to include the bodies, not just the sticks. That's a great point, Sleuthy. Thank you.
The neck area. And Steve, you noticed that because of the chest and where the neck, that would have rolled either way, right?
Everything slid that way, natural, due to slope, the angle, incline, whatever how you want to describe the angle of the throat being lower than what the chest is. And if you put that number 4 branch on top or below, it would naturally go to that area of the throat.
Interesting. Okay, so I'm going to load up the video. I'm going to get these quickly. We got some super chats. I'm going to grab these, and then we're going to play the video. Go ahead and play it. We've got a couple of videos set up. We did a couple. Well, you did a couple.
This is what I actually wanted you guys to see. As in,
I see you put some speed on me.
Okay.
I did the first time, but then you know what comes up. So
I know.
Yep. And anytime you want to speak on anything, Steve, you go ahead, buddy.
Everything that I was gathering is in its natural environment. Nothing was staged. Nothing was posed and pre-laid. I walked around the scene, looked, and found to create these. Of course, Chris has sped up this video. The following video is in natural. This isn't my normal.
I agree. So
pace right here.
Yeah.
But
yeah, really nice guy.
I guess wait until the second one, and then This was kind of just a.
But even when I was doing what was reported as
just so you guys know, that is the guy that's out here doing this. Is Steve from True Crime Web. Again, we can drop that link as well. Mob Crew and True Crime Web. I would really appreciate that, moderators. Thank you so much for that.
Horns. Whenever you get on up here in a minute, you'll be able to see that one of them stands out. The other one doesn't really at the top of the head of searching for those branches and things. But I tried to do everything. And I gathered everything up, all these 7 branches plus the reported horns. Probably everything was within 30 feet. And so I didn't have to go looking. And there's hundreds of branches and limbs.
Interesting. And I do show some of the crime scene, not the actual crime scene, but the location of where the crime scene was at. And it really mimics kind of that same area that you're in, which is really interesting. So, The wind is actually, that's not wind, that's actually his drone, the propellers.
Yeah. I'm not scared to fly a drone in the forest.
Thank you, Brandy.
I've crashed, but
Yeah, I'd be chopping
yes,
down trees.
creating this first one, like I said, and then moving around trying to get the other, and finding all the debris from the ground. Like I said, it's not hard to do.
Yeah. And then we also do a time trial as well. So this one's just kind of just a get an idea of what it looks like, what they would have came across, with trying to be respective. But that worked out perfectly because you had a whole mannequin and then a half mannequin. Is that correct?
Well, for some reason, I've lost half of another mannequin. I put jeans on and stuffed the jeans just with material so I could angle the legs more.
The next day, Riddler.
Reported in the image.
Mm-hmm.
Then I walked around so that you can see from all these different angles. I have a lot more still images, and of course we have a lot more video than just what we edited here. But and it's important
There's mob
for
crews
the
like
fact that the different angles and different perspectives, wherever you're standing at, some of these things may change. The only thing that really didn't change, regardless of angle, was the asterisk. The other stuff, when you're looking at it from different location, could disappear unless you're standing in a certain area, and it takes on significance. But otherwise, as you moved around the crime scene on those outer edges, it just didn't. Okay. All right.
Yeah, so here's the time trial. So this is like I said, we got a couple of videos, and yeah, I agree, Sleuth. They do seem concealed, even when they're not, just with the logs or branches or whatever. And of course, as we don't know exactly how big these things are, but you grabbed just what was nearby. So I'm assuming this would be something pretty close. I mean, semi-accurate, as to, because you got the same environment. So, but yeah.
Yeah, this size branch in my area, which we're in Georgia, and it's totally different than Indiana. But although when you look at the two landscapes, as you'll see where Chris morphs.
Thank you so much, Sarah Tequila. She says hi all.
And this is my normal everyday way that I approach pretty much life. I don't get rushed about much of anything, and I wasn't rushed here. Or the fact that anytime you do anything, if you rush yourself, there's opportunity to hurt yourself. So I try not to hurt myself any more than I already do. But like I said, I just walked around, and in this type, and it would be the same because I've been to the Delphi crime scene, that you can look around. Everything is pretty visible, even with all the leaves and stuff, the ground debris. And so it's easy to move through. There's not a lot of ground clutter. And, so it was just, like I said, it doesn't take long to form these sticks and find them and move them. I mean,
Yeah. And like you said, so you didn't have these sticks. I mean, you can see you're cleaning off these sticks. So clearly, you're just grabbing.
Those sticks I'm breaking to size to represent what the horns, because he said like horns. And so I shortened them. But all the other sticks I just picked up. That's what they look like naturally. They laid on the ground. All the leaves had fallen off. All the smaller limbs mostly were gone. And so I just went out and picked up some big, long, straight sticks. Where they came from, I don't know. And when I need to make two out of one, you see me work and build a fire. That's how I pretty well break sticks all day long.
Yeah. And so here we're about 2 minutes. approaching, and you've got just about you've got Abby all the way done, and Libby, I think you've got 2 more sticks to go here.
Yeah, I went over there and didn't find what I want. Then I found this one. So this is one that went across the throat. That whenever you place it up there,
Yeah,
it's a natural. Actually, you know,
yeah, if you
it didn't
pause it right
slide, it
there.
was almost like it was a natural place
Because of
where you would place
due
it.
to his own
That if you
safety,
if you
CL
were
is what
covering
they're
it,
saying.
that's what you would where you would place one. And I didn't even know that it was up around the throat because I was going by
Right.
what you had sent me,
Yep.
but during the time and not thinking about it, my instincts went to place it across the throat.
Yeah, I guess we'll come back to that. But yeah, you can see where the stick would have naturally just rolled to the neck because you've got the chest kind of high up, and then obviously the neck would be the stopping point.
Yeah, if my neighbors saw me, they think
Oh
think
yeah.
yeah. Mrs. Steve thinks it's weird of me in the first place to go there. 2 minutes 42 seconds.
Not bad, not bad. But just to get an idea of what how long.
Real quick to explain this here. Thank you again, Cammy, for putting that up. If you guys caught me from the beginning, I ran a new intro today off of that Stevie Irwin put together for me. He's very, very talented. And this is links to all of his awesome stuff that he does. He's very, very talented with everything he touches. So again, thank you, Stevie, for that. And thank you, Cammy, for dropping that in here. I appreciate that very much. For those of you that were interested, should go check it out. Stevie Irwin's, I'm sorry, let me say it the right way. Yeah, it's Stevie Irwin's Crime Jungle. Please check it out, guys. It's really, really interesting. He puts up great videos too. So go show some love over there if you will. Very much appreciated. Oh, and there's the actual link for you, Miss Casty, and anybody else that would want it as well. I can't believe they use that excuse. So what happens there now? They're just putting their prison. Yeah, I know. I can agree with that too, CL.
Now this is something different. How long would it take to hide the bodies with leaves?
And I did just based upon, I worked a case one time. I was on the road and I found a deceased bank robber that was probably reached being deceased by his former partner. And he was placed,
like I said,
in
if
a
I was
wooded area,
those bodies, all those
depression,
leaves,
and he was covered up with
that's
leaves.
what I would have done, not
And,
what they were doing.
And certain parts of this individual you could see, but I think our department had answered. The vehicle was parked alongside the road, and it was suspicious, and it had been reported probably 4 or 5 times during that week. And then finally, I was dispatched there and read the note on the dash, saw the boots in the car, and thought about it and said that this isn't right. And so called for another officer, and we did a search of the area. And about 50 feet off into the wood line is where we came across the victim. Had been there for a week inside this little sunken area and covered with leaves. And so it's something that I kind of mimicked with this.
All right. Yeah, let's go ahead and play it. I think this is interesting, especially when you see the end results. And then I do a before and after. Very interesting. This is where at the end I blend in the crime scene area with your wooded area and show kind of the similarities to it.
And once again, you'll see as we get to this point here, but no rush, just going about, just taking the natural debris that's within 10 feet, just tossing it.
And it seems like this was kind of what was there. I mean, as far as at the crime scene, it was looked like
it's in the area now. I don't know what extent that he did or when he would have stopped. Mine was to see how long, if he wanted to absolutely totally conceal them to the point that you probably wouldn't recognize them or recognize it as being a human unless you was within a few feet. And that's the purpose of what I was trying to do here.
Right. Yeah, they found her clothes somewhere in the river, her undergarment. Yeah, already. I mean, it really
yeah,
from it
the
looks
only thing
kind
that
of
was
natural.
sticking up was really the feet. Actually, I think on the guy I found, it was either a hand or a foot. That's what put me on him. But a minute and like less than 2 minutes, this is what it turns into.
So, but with both of them combined, basically less than 5 minutes. So you could say approximately 5 minutes. If the environment's pretty close to this, just for this, obviously, this doesn't incorporate the actual tragedy before, and I'm sure that would have been different. Took some time.
Yeah. And I could have stopped at any point, but I wanted, like I said, I was doing a time trial that you could look and actually see that if it's only the top part of one of them, if you replayed that back, you'd see how long it took.
Which part there, Steve?
If you went back to the how long does it take at the beginning of this section?
Okay, so at that point, like I said, guys, I kind of wanted you to see. You don't have to watch all that stuff, but the most important part is what we've seen already, and that's what I wanted you guys to see. So again, thank you, Mob Crew and True Crime Web. I appreciate that video very much. Also, I just wanted to give you guys a heads up. There's a few channels that are talking about this, and they really put out really good stuff on this. Bob Motto's channel is amazing. I love Bob. I'd love to get Bob over here to come on the panel and talk with us about this. If I could get a hold of him, I'd love to do that. Because he is in the case in a sense. He goes to court with it all the time. He knows a lot about it, and he could really explain a lot of this stuff as well. What's wrong with it and what's not. So that's something I'm going to see if I can interest him in coming over here to talk to all of us one of these days in regards to it, because I'd really, really enjoy that. And I think you all would too. Bob Model's got a great channel. He's a great person. And he's very, very down to earthly explains this as I put it. This supposedly has to do with ritualistic symbolism, not the amount of victims perpetrated. No, not in my opinion, not at all. Thank you for that. Now, at this point, like I had stated, I kind of wanted to give everybody the opportunity to speak their mind about this, guys. So what I'm going to do, and like I said, it has to, we're not going to be talking about nothing insane here. Within the realm of logic, commonsensical stuff. That's what I want to hear. But I want opinions, guys. Okay. Oh, no, you're okay, Piglet. I appreciate that. There is the link in chat, guys. Please come on down. Join me up here, if you will, and let's talk about this a little bit. This part of what we've talked about, for sure. Okay. Actually, let me do it this way. There we go. It is pinned in chat for anybody that would like to. And again, we got 100 and we're okay. We got in the algorithm. That's awesome. That's awesome. Good stuff, guys. I appreciate it. What is up, KT? What it do? What it do? Let me see. Check out Mind Shock's new 10-hour, yes, 10 video of the Idaho case going all the way back to the beginning. It's really good. Good deal. Thank you, KT. All right, all right. Yeah, I'm definitely going to be trying to get a hold of Bob to see if I can convince him to be interested in coming over if he's got some time because he's very busy. Very busy. Um, he has his own podcast, which you guys should check that out as well. I've thrown if we could hit the link in here for his channel, guys, please. I'd appreciate that. And I'd just like to have him come over and explain the legal side to this to you guys from his point of view. That would be amazing to me. So I'm going to try to reach out and see if I can get that to happen. Oh, looks like Jackie Young gifted 5 memberships. That's awesome, Jackie. Thank you very much for that. Looks like Willie got gifted 1. Ms. Smith, I'm sorry, Sleuthy Goosey, legendary CEO. Well, how about that? Welcome to the sauce, guys, and congrats to those of you that were gifted memberships. Thank you for that very much appreciated. Jackie says, Merry Crimbles. Merry Christmas. I appreciate you, Jackie, very much. And welcome to all the new meatballs. Thank you for joining us. It is appreciated very, very much. That's awesome. Let me see here. It doesn't look like, well, nobody wants to come up here and discuss this with me. Nobody. If not, I get it. It's understandable. Sleuthy says if you stick to the stuff in the court documents, you'll be good. I'd love to hear people's thoughts. Me too. I really would. I haven't heard many people. That's why I'm doing this, because I haven't heard a lot of anybody else's thoughts on this case. Just my own and Salty's and yours and a couple other people's, but like nobody's really spoke on it too much. Mr. Willie,
what's up, brother?
How you doing, man?
I'm doing wonderful. How are you?
Roll Tide, roll.
Roll Tide. Dude, this is one of the best weekends of my life, man.
Well, it was until Cleveland played and destroyed my hopes for everything.
Oh, yeah. See, my Dolphins won hands down, so they're looking really good right now, man. But anyway, so yeah, I figured I'd join you. I don't really know as much as I do about the Idaho case with this, but you know, yeah, I mean, you know my feelings on this whole thing. I don't know what step or where they're at as far as trying to fix all this catastrophe, in my opinion, that's going on with this trial or with this case. But I mean, has there been any answers yet to why he's in a prison and not in a jail? What happened with the whole judge issue? Like, what's going on with that?
Well, the prison, the whole thing with the prison was to protect him, is what it was. And then I read to you where it was stated earlier on about protecting certain other governmental workers and things like that. I think you were here for that one.
Yeah. But we also explained, but we also talked about, are there more convicted, are there more convicted child molesters in jail or in prison? Or killers, like people who have murdered people, convicted murderers are more in prison than they are in jail. So why would you put somebody that they're claiming did this to 2 young girls that would set off prisoners that are doing life or on death row to
that was my thought.
Stab this dude?
That was my thought.
Rather than being in a jail where, everybody's getting a year or less.
Right.
Hey, Sleuthy.
Welcome, Sleuthy, and go for it.
There's like multiple reasons for why he's in prison versus jail. None of them, though, really are him. I mean, if you go back to so I just recently discovered that he was apparently moved to the prison prior to that safekeeping order appearing in front of a judge and being asked for and even signed. Apparently he was arrested and immediately moved. Yeah, and if you look at the safekeeping order, which, if you remember, or maybe if you don't even know, that safekeeping order was signed, and then immediately that judge recused himself. So could it be that he knew that he was already in prison and he was like, I can't believe you all did this. I'm going to sign the safekeeping order and then I'm leaving, kind of thing. But in that order, he cited that there was a lot of people that were doing public records requests, and he had no way to keep up with all of them. And they wanted to know about the prisoner, and they wanted to, like, they were threatening legal action if their requests aren't responded to. And I guess the law in Indiana is he has like 30 days to give a response. And so essentially what it boiled down to in that document was that the public servants weren't safe. So they moved him.
Yeah, I covered that. You had sent me something on that last week at some point, and I brought it up and showed all them. I was really surprised because I was under the understanding that it, like you had just said, that it didn't happen that fast. Like, he was arrested and immediately moved to the prison. That's not what we were told before.
Dude, something that bothers me is that so much shit was done, like so much stuff was signed for by a judge plumb after the fact that action was already taken. So like the search warrant, they were there for hours before the search warrant was signed by the judge. His arrest, he was arrested without a warrant. The warrant wasn't signed until he was already arrested. And then when the judge finally did sign off and say that probable cause was found, he had to reference to him as the prisoner in custody. He was already in custody.
Already done.
It took like 2 days before they even announced that he had been arrested. There was a couple more days, like do you remember when he was first arrested, and when they did the thingy on the 31st, that Monday or whatever, like they were very wishy-washy about what he was being charged with. They didn't even want to tell anybody what he was being charged with.
Right. Yeah. It was almost like a premeditated. The whole thing was premeditated in a sense that, like, it was acted out. It was a play that was put in production, and then here it is. You know what I mean? It's weird. The whole crazy, completely crazy. And now
there's no way that those sticks, in my opinion, those sticks fell like that from a tree and just landed in those perfect positions.
No.
There's no way.
That's why I showed that video. It takes some time to do that. First of all, not a lot, but enough.
Well, here's my question: How long are they claiming, or did they say that the girls were out there for before they were found?
Go ahead, Sleuth.
The problem is, so they were last seen at like 2:15. We're estimating, so it was like 2:13. But we're just gonna, I can get detailed if that's what you want. But it was like 2:15. They were last seen, and then people were searching. No one could find them. They were there till like midnight. They called off the search, but then, depending on who you ask, there was a bunch of people out there still searching. Still nobody saw them or found them. It wasn't until the following day at 12:15, so a little less than 24 hours later, they were found there in that spot in the woods. Now, you have
Has anyone claimed that they searched that area the day prior?
Yeah, I mean, some people said that they absolutely had searched that area and they were not there, and then other people said they tried to search that area and police stopped them. Here's my thing: I would not be surprised if the police did stop them, or there was some type of searcher that was like on the property line saying, you can't come here, because they were found on private property. I don't know the logistics of that, but they may have needed a search warrant if he was not there to give them access to that property.
Oh.
Because whatever evidence you find, and then of course the bodies would be on private property. You went there with you know what I mean? I think it would get hairy. I would.
Gotcha.
So.
Well, the reason I ask is because, obviously it makes a difference if, somebody's out in the woods for 2 weeks to a month rather than 24 hours for branches to fall off a tree that quick and to land in the no.
Right.
I mean, again, like, that's why I showed that video too, because you can't, a lot of people are like visual. You want to see how this was. And obviously I'm not going to show, even if I had it, wouldn't show the actual crime scene photos, but to see the scenario as to what they walked up onto, helps to get that thought through your mind, if you know what I'm trying to say, to understand like where people are saying, well, I'm not gonna say who said it because I just don't like her. So um I just think the sticks just kind of fell that way and that just happened to land that way and like give me a damn break. That's stupid. You can look
I mean, maybe one branch, but come on, man.
that many branches are gonna fall at one time. That tree needs to be cut down. Sorry. I'm just saying.
I was born on a Sunday, but it wasn't yesterday, dude.
Right. And then
You know,
Oh, Lily.
it was what's that?
It wasn't even
Um,
like there were other tree branches everywhere. You know what I mean? Like
there weren't.
so the only
They
tree
were just
branches that fell was the ones that they was under. You know what I mean?
yeah, exactly. They just happened to land in that spot on the victims like that. And then to claim that they were trying to hide the bodies. Bullshit.
well, let me ask you this. Let me ask you this, because obviously it's going to take a while to find, in my opinion, it'll take somebody a while who's panicking to find sticks that are a specific length. Did they check the sticks to see if they were broken off in certain areas or whatever to make the stick shorter in order to complete that emblem or whatever the hell they were trying to make?
War Eagle just said that one of the sticks had a sawed end on it.
Yeah,
meaning
they
that
said one looked like it was clean cut on an edge. But their
Sawn.
general idea was for them to have had all those sticks on hand and they were all like the appropriate sizes and whatnot, that it felt like that person had come prepared.
But I mean, like, I don't know where they were found or if there's a lot of sticks around the area. Like, I don't know if anybody has looked into that or knows that.
It's actually like, so everything, it's actually the most clear. It kind of looks like they, I'm trying to think of the word, like what we do here. Like if you have large property here, you can pay, people will come out and like a company will pay you to timber on your property.
Clear. Yeah.
And then there's like nothing. Like it looked like everything had been cut down. Like it was the biggest clearing in the whole area.
It had been logged, it looks like, yes.
Gotcha. Yeah. And so, but, you know, I just, if anything out of those photos, and I agree with you, like, as for the stick placement and stuff, I felt like the defense went into such detail in that memorandum that I didn't really need to see the sticks.
Yeah.
To visualize kind of what was going on. But at the same time, if anything came out of that, I feel like it should have, and at least it did for me, it took all doubt out of my mind that they were put there to cover them, to hide them from being found. I mean, but in the next breath, because they were stolen, because there's no evidence markers, because we don't know what number these were in the line of numbers of photos, like these could be photos number, 340 and 341 out of 1,000, and there was 339 pictures that were taken before this, and there were other sticks and there were other leaves, and they were removed like one by one as they were taking photos. However, I feel like if that was the case, there would be some type of evidence marking and stuff inside the photos. So I don't know. The way that it sounds was that it was just like, we just come up on them. We're taking a photo so that we have these photos before we start touching stuff. We're putting out markers and things like that. But there's no way that that's what somebody was trying to do. I also don't think that it was somebody that was trying to, that they rushed and they had to like run away, because people like stopped searching. First of all, they didn't even like really start searching. By the time they really started searching, you could have already been done.
Agreed.
If you killed them right away. So there's that. But then also, like, then it got dark. You would have hung around, I would assume, or kept an ear out to see if someone found them. When they didn't, you could have went back like under the cover of darkness when the search was called off and finished whatever it was you were doing or whatever.
But if they were doing that, yeah, right.
I don't think that's what it was. I think 100% that was. I don't know if they're runes. If they are, I think they're bind runes. I don't think that it's any kind of one particular rune on each of them that anybody's going to be able to figure out. I think that's why the professor said that he couldn't interpret them because I think someone created bind runes, if that's what they are. If they're not runes, I absolutely think that like something as simple as the fact that Abby, like he didn't or she didn't or they didn't, whatever it is, her like bra, for example, wasn't gone and then she had Libby's on. She had both of them on. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like I think everything was done very specifically.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, yeah.
Every bit of this, in my opinion, I agree. Every bit of this means something. It was done in a specific fashion, implying something. For whatever reason, I don't have the answer to that, but it definitely has.
So Richard Allen didn't have the background, I'm assuming, to, kind of basically everything we're saying now for the detectives to use to pin against him as far as, this Odinism stuff and all that. I'm assuming they didn't bring that up because he doesn't have a past of that or something, or, like he's squeaky clean and that's why they didn't kind of care about those emblems made and stuff.
Well, they cleared. So the defense says that he has no ties to Odinism whatsoever.
Right.
But they stopped investigating the Odinists and that type of angle and the ritualistic stuff long before they ever looked at Richard Allen.
Right.
Because and they actually cleared these people that were in the memorandum. They cleared them like within a month. And what's interesting though is that there was these other law enforcement guys who were part of a different task force with the FBI from various places, and they continued to investigate that angle. Okay, so these people that are in the memorandum, they continued to investigate them in regards to their possible involvement in what happened to Delphi. And that went on and on and on. And when Richard Allen was arrested, nobody did anything. But months later, after the man was already in prison for months, here comes the new year. It's 2023. And one of those law enforcement men was like, I'm really uneasy about about what is going on here with this person. And they released, the 136 documents and all that stuff. And this person was getting like increasingly more worried because his concern was that he had more evidence on these other people than he was seeing of Richard Allen. So he hired a lawyer to send a certified letter to the prosecutor saying, airing his concerns about who was arrested. And he wanted to have a meeting where they would essentially calm him down and explain to him why he was arrested. And he's now retired. He did not have to involve himself, but he went in, he provided like pages and pages and pages of reports to the prosecutor, and went in to have a meeting with them. And basically when he left, he said that he felt that they were just trying to tie up a loose end because they knew that he didn't believe that they had the right person, because they didn't give him any additional information. They didn't explain to him how they got him. And he was still, even if you listen to the murder sheet, they said they spoke to one of the people, Todd Click. That's one of the law enforcement people that he's the one that got the lawyer and reached out to the prosecutor. And he said, he didn't agree with a ritualistic sacrifice with that angle, but that they accurately represented the evidence, and also that he does believe that the people that were listed in the memorandum are the people that are responsible. I mean, he still thinks that. So there's like no ifs, ands, or buts about it. He thinks that all of the evidence that they gather. I mean, if you think about this, if that memorandum, that Frank's memorandum, was written as a PCA, everyone would be shitting themselves.
I do agree on that. I absolutely do agree on that one for sure. Absolutely. Completely. Yeah.
I mean, you have someone and like not stuff like not collecting the sticks. Could that be why they couldn't? Like, I just,
Possibly, because that's a big deal to me too. That always has been. Why did they just leave everything there? Why didn't they collect it? They went back 2 to 3 weeks later and said, "Okay, we're gonna pick this stuff up now."
Well, what if there was a thumbprint on a stick?
Oh, they did take DNA from those supposedly, and
then what? Just threw them away?
Whatever. But then they just left them there and they walked off. Here's my thing, and I've been on crime scenes. Okay, I've been on crime scenes, being an EMS and a firefighter and all this. I've seen crime scenes myself physically. I've had to help collect things on crime scenes because
don't they put them in like a big, like wouldn't they put them in like a big bag or something?
Everything is collected. Anything at a scene is collected. Everything, because you don't know what's what and what's not. It's There's markers they put out. They take pictures of everything. They do this, they do that. You don't just brush things off the side and say, "Oh, we don't need that. We need the important things." Everything is important.
Anything on top of the bodies would be considered very important.
Bodies. I mean, come on, that doesn't make any sense to me. So, what?
Yeah, but if you're saying they tested it, I mean, if it's laying on top of the girls, like that's laying on top of a body.
Evidence. It's evidence.
Whether they took that's evidence. I mean, that's evidence.
Yeah. So why would
that's like somebody being wrapped up in a blanket and you just throw the blanket away and just take the body.
Right. And why? So if it wasn't important, why did they go back later and get it anyway? You know what I'm saying?
Well, they tried to, but they couldn't.
Yeah.
And actually, I did find a news clip where the reporter was physically standing there, like at the cemetery, and they were like, "Law enforcement is back at the crime scene." It was 2 weeks later. Law enforcement is back at the crime scene looking for more evidence. And it's like 2 weeks? They didn't even have nothing like blocked off or nothing. They had no security at the scene. What do you mean they're back trying to collect stuff?
Right.
And what gets me is they had that one officer, I can't think of who it was at the top of my head, but that was saying about all this DNA that they had. They have a lot of DNA. The only problem was trying to sort through all the DNA and figure out who was who. And they said he made it a point to say that, you know, there were searchers out there and stuff, and that nobody was like expecting to be walking through a crime scene, blah, 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 that there was urine, there was spit. They found all kinds of DNA. And my question is, if Richard Allen's DNA is not in that crime scene, and you have somebody else that made a comment about spitting on those girls after they were dead,
so wait,
who all owns the DNA that you did find, and how did you consider that those people were not involved, but Richard Allen's DNA is not there, was involved? I need that doesn't make sense.
Well, other than his confession, what's the strongest thing they have against him?
He told them that he was there.
And then he, in my opinion, admitted to it, coerced, in my opinion. I'm sorry, but it is. They found a bullet.
But we all know confessions can be thrown out. So, like, if you know, what do they have to back up his I mean, anybody could say they did a crime, but obviously, if it doesn't make sense, you know, how can you buy it? So what?
I'll tell you what they have. I'll tell you what they have. They have a bullet in between the bodies of two girls who were not shot, and it was unspent. It was unspent, and they performed a search of his home and collected a gun and collected various ammunition, and didn't have a probable cause affidavit before they did that. The only probable cause affidavit that we saw prior to Richard Allen's was Ron Logan's, whose property they were found on. And that affidavit made no mention of there being a bullet between the two bodies.
Nope.
So it wasn't until they entered his house, searched, found a gun, found ammunition, that they then said in a probable cause affidavit that was written after they'd already been inside his home that one of the girls could be heard in this video that they have saying gun, and that a bullet was found in between the two bodies, and they sent it to the ISP lab, and that person determined that unspent, unfired bullet had been in Richard Allen's gun. And he could not, he could not explain why a bullet of his would be there, and he didn't know
an unspent. They can
Here,
tell
here's how it
unspent
went.
bullet.
They basically said that the bullet was put into his gun and then taken back
Ejected.
out of his gun.
Oh,
Okay.
that's a crock of shit, dude.
Yeah.
Here's my thing with
his specific gun. Now, what if 15 people in his neighborhood had the same gun? How could they tell of the same model?
Because here's the thing: the gun matches up to other guns. Granted, that's fine. There's probably hundreds of thousands of those same gun around, but each gun is machined differently by within an eighth of a millimeter, whatever.
When it goes down the barrel.
Right. But here to put, see, there's a
one of my barrel. You said unspent, so it wouldn't go down the barrel. It wouldn't go down the barrel. It would be in a.
But when you
depending on what kind of gun it is,
you put a bullet in the chamber and you pull it back. You're releasing the bullet into the chamber. There's a word for it. I'm missing.
Well, that's what I mean. So that's what I'm trying to figure out. Are we talking about a revolver? Are we talking about like a?
It was a Sig Sauer. It was a Sig Sauer P226.
Right.
Okay. So
then, but here's the thing, though. But then they're saying that was released and then it wasn't discharged as in fired through the barrel.
That means he put it. So that means you're saying he had it basically in the chamber.
Basically, but then disloaded it and pulled the bullet back out. Who does that?
Nobody does that. That's what I'm asking. And now, because what I thought they were saying is basically he put it in a clip or a mag, put it and then that's how they could tell that was in a mag or a clip. Now, if you're saying that they're saying that he put it in, cocked it back, had it in the chamber, that means that he would be at the scene and then uncock his gun for that bullet to fly out and go into the ground. But he didn't use a gun to do this.
It's been stated that he loaded his gun to threaten somebody, just maybe go down the hill, that type scenario, and then unloaded his gun because he didn't need to use it. I still think it's bullshit, and the word is striation, by the way. I think it's just an excuse, in my opinion.
Yeah, okay.
Well,
that's wild.
If you look at the lab report, and by the way, so they did all that. So they gathered that stuff, wrote the PCA for the search warrant, got it signed, and then sent it to the lab. The lab came back and said, yeah, basically it's our subjective opinion. Like she writes in the lab report that it's a subjective analysis. So essentially she's putting it in a microscope. She's looking at another one that she fired through it. And she's saying, okay, I'm going to look for blank amount of spots on both bullets in this microscope, just like fingerprints that match. And then I can say that it's a match, but it's a subjective test. So then she gives them the report. And then a couple days later, they arrest him. When he comes in voluntarily to speak with them, he comes in voluntarily to speak with them.
His defense team can shoot. His defense team can shoot. I mean, they can get an expert that's going to go against that tenfold on what she's saying.
Well,
because if you take 15 of the same guns and you load a bullet in, put in the chamber, unload it, there's no way you'd be able to tell which one of those 15 guns that bullet came out of if they are the same exact guns. I understand the boring might be different and all this might be different, but you're not talking about a spent round here. You're talking about just being loaded into a gun and then unloaded.
100%. What I would be doing is I would be providing like 10 guns and 10 bullets and then or 11 bullets, and I would say, there's the bullet we found at a quote crime scene. Please tell me which of these 10 guns it comes from. And I would expect that to be able to be something that could be repeated. You should be able to reproduce results.
And what they should also do is get an expert to find out exactly how old that bullet is as well, to see if,
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing is the only photo that they have is one photo. It's already like out of the ground. Like there is no, what they say in their Frank's memorandum is basically that there's no chain of custody, and there's no additional photos of that bullet. So they have no way, like they don't have any photos of it in the ground, it being pulled out of the ground, it being put into a bag, so they don't know that the bullet that's going to show up at trial is the same bullet that was pulled from the ground.
Exactly.
That's their problem.
Yep.
How the hell are they going to explain that one? That's crazy.
Well, that's why they put in that motion to suppress, but then they were like, they went to that suppression hearing that was in June, and she was like, you need to file a Franks memorandum. So then months later, they file a Franks memorandum, and suddenly it's a huge issue, and everyone's shitting themselves, and she boots them off the case. Like, that Franks memorandum, they were told to write.
Listen, this is more, in my opinion, and again, I don't know a lot about this case, but in my opinion, this is more than just two little girls losing their lives, because like you've had so much go on, and you've had somebody take their own life over this case.
Yeah. Yes.
So obviously this is a little deeper than just, a simple, something's going on. I mean, somebody took their life. I mean, let's think about that. They lived their childhood. I don't know if they had children. They were living, I mean, they lived their life, and then they took their life over this case specifically for some kind of reason. And I want to know why.
I do want to say, I saw somebody say something about the manufacturer. I don't know if they already have markings on them, but speaking of the manufacturer, one thing that I do want to say is that what they say is that they have when they do the search of his house, they have one clip that has 9 rounds in it. And then they have another clip that has 8 rounds in it. And then they find an unspent round in a keepsake box in between he and his wife's closet doors, like on top of the dresser. Okay.
Right.
So they collect all that stuff. What it's meant to imply is that bullet inside that keepsake box has some type of significance to like this crime, because it was kept separate from the other
souvenir. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
I'm sure they took that bullet though.
Well, they took all of them. So they have the 8 plus the 9 plus the 1. So they have 18 rounds. And then they have the 19th, which is the one that was found at the crime scene. And a lot of people, and probably because it doesn't just outright say it, you have to go back and you have to look at the search warrant return, and you have to match the number. So you have to match like the number that they gave to the bullet at the scene, the number that they gave to the bullets in each clip. And anyway, my point in saying this is that the bullet that was found at the scene was marketed by Winchester, and every bullet in the clip, in both clips, and the bullet that was in that keepsake box in between the 2 closets on the dresser, all of those were marketed by Blazer.
Absolutely. Another thing I just wanted to bring to the attention to that has always bothered me is the phone. Okay. The way that I've always had a problem with the way that they found this phone underneath the victim like that. If these
so Libby's phone was found. Libby's shoe was under Abby's body, and under Libby's shoe was Libby's phone under Abby's body.
Right. So, I mean, here's my thing.
They were placed under her body. How the fuck did the shoe get? Now, if it was just the phone, and you tried to tell me that maybe it was in the back pocket of the jeans, and he didn't notice, and he was sliding them on Abby, and it fell out, maybe I'm buying that. But the shoe, did she have her shoe in her pocket?
That's what I'm saying. It does none of it. It just doesn't make sense. Why did they leave that like that to begin with? On top of that, but still, it's just not going to happen that way. It's not. There's so many.
Quick question: Did they find more than one firearm in his house?
Oh yeah, yeah.
No.
He had.
Well, then what?
He had other guns in there, didn't he? Sleuthy?
Did he? I don't. Let me look.
I think he did.
I think they found multiple knives, but
he had guns.
Well, I'm just saying, if that's the only gun that they found, and they actually found, then I could kind of hop on board a little bit with it. But if he had, 5-10 other guns, and whatever,
Oh, and that
You
was
know,
the other thing people were saying was like that that whole area was riddled with law enforcement, and apparently it's like it's the same caliber that law enforcement use. But also, what about the man that whose property it was? Like, if you go, if
Yeah, Ron
someone has
Rose.
yeah.
property,
What about him?
especially if they hunt, dude, there was probably like how many other unspent rounds were in that area? How many spent rounds were in that area? How many different calibers were all over the place? If he's walking and he's got a couple rounds in his pocket, and he goes to pull one out to put it in a gun to shoot at a deer or whatever the case may be, or a squirrel or whatever. You
I mean,
know,
I would ask the defense. I would ask if that property owner has any weapons.
oh, he had
Well,
tons, dude. He
he
had
had tons of them.
tons.
Yeah, absolutely. He was one of the suspects. It was looked at. I'm sorry. I shouldn't say suspect. A person of interest in the case. Okay.
Because basically, from what you're saying is, if they didn't have his confession, then you can kind of throw a bunch of people in the mix with him. But because they have his confession, that's why.
Yeah, but Willie, you don't know what the confession was.
Oh, no. I'm not saying it's a valid confession. I'm just saying if you take out the confession and you try to, just go at him with evidence, you could probably go at the property owner with a little more evidence than you could at Richard Allen because it's his freaking property.
Mhm.
Oh, get this. Oh, I must have missed this. So they had the gun. They found the gun in the search, but they also found. So I guess there was a cartridge that was already in the gun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the gun had a magazine in it, right?
So when they went to unload it, it says sealed plastic bag containing 140 caliber Smith and Wesson cartridge found inside Sig Sauer P226 handgun. So they discharged this bullet when they collected it.
Thank you very much. That was what my problem was. When they collect, just for you that don't understand this, they have to unload the gun. If it's loaded and it's ready to go, they have to back it. There's a word for it. I can't ever think of it.
Talk it back.
Pull the magazine out, unload it, pull that bullet out of the chamber, blah, 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 so on and so forth. Guess what that leaves them? A bullet that's been put into a gun. That's been loaded and taken back out. Thank you. Who's to prove where, you know what I'm saying? Do you see what I'm saying?
So since you don't have photos, the question is the bullet you're saying was at the crime scene, is it the one that they pulled out of that gun when they collected it from the house?
Well, that's why I asked the question yesterday about them saying, and I don't want to get off topic with this case about, the Idaho case with, say they found the murder weapon in his home. If none of them were wearing body cams, how the hell can you, how can you say that that's the actual weapon? You know what I mean? So
there was no video done of them.
Why are they not? Yeah.
No proof.
Why are they not recording the most, that's very important, especially if that's what if that's your strongest evidence, for Christ's sakes.
Those are some of the biggest questions.
There's a lot of something's off.
I just looked and there's only that gun. It's only the P226.
But does the brands of the bullets match?
No. Well, no. You mean match to what? The one at the crime scene?
Yeah, like the one they found. Like
no,
the bullet
the manufacturers are different. No, all of his are from Blazer. The one at the crime scene was Winchester.
Oh Jesus! Good luck, prosecution.
Have you guys read the? I mean, I don't guess Billy has, but have you read Dago the Frank's memo?
It's football season. I'm sorry.
And through it, and I was meaning to go, but I was going to do an entire show about it because, like I said, a lot of the people in here did not know this case, so I'm trying to catch everybody up with everything.
Oh my god!
I know. I plan on doing the whole thing.
Crazy.
Yeah.
It's even more crazy when you start going through it and you realize that all of the stuff that's in there was stuff that was coming from law enforcement, right, and everything that was handed over in discovery versus like it wasn't the defense going out and doing interviews and their own investigation. All of it was backed by what was brought to them by the prosecution.
Right.
And it gets even more crazy when then the prosecution starts filing affidavits and shit saying that things that they wrote were correct. You know what I mean?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And that's probably going to be the next Delphi show we cover is going to be, like I said, I was going to do an entire show on nothing but the Franks thing. So
Is there a
that
trial date for him?
There was.
there was until the whole thing
Well,
with Judge
there is. I
Andy.
mean, it was supposed to be January 8th, but then when she booted the lawyers and put on new lawyers, they immediately pushed it out to October of next year. But I guarantee you it's not, like, if those two lawyers do stay on there, there's just no way that they're going to trial in October of next
No.
year. So it'll probably be even longer than that.
Damn.
But
Well, how's
We're
it looking
waiting
for
to
those
hear from the
lawyers?
Supreme Court now.
yeah,
Okay, so
we need to see
that's where you're at. Okay.
if Judge Gall is or can be removed, the attorneys that he had and wants to be in place are brought back into place. They're looking at trying to get this set for trial within 70 days is what the point was.
So what they'll do it. So I heard people talking about this. There were people saying he already waived his speedy trial. He can't do it again. That's all just for show. And I'm here to tell you that at least in Indiana, that's not true. You can file to be brought to trial within a certain number at any point in time in your incarceration. Like, basically, and before they were booted, so say like October the 3rd, before anybody knew about these leaked crime scene photos, they had a conference call with the judge. And the judge said, I guess you're going to need a continuance on the January trial. And the defense was like, nope, we don't need a continuance. In fact, we intend to, like, mid-November, we intend to file that we want to go to trial within that 70 days. Because what it does is it makes trial have to happen within that 70 days or they have to release you. They have to drop those charges. So what they were going to do was, and they couldn't do it before the 70 days because it has to be within the 70 days. So they were planning like, okay, what's 70 days back from January 8th? That's the day we'll file this so that we're guaranteed to go on January the 8th so that nothing can come up. The court can't do a continuance. The prosecutor, nothing can happen. That way we're guaranteed to start trial that day like we're supposed to. And she was like, what? And here, you got to think about this, is that means that the Franks memorandum and the 1,500 pages of exhibits and shit and the hours and hours and hours of recordings she hadn't listened to and the memorandum she hadn't read a month and a half later, all of that shit needed to be read, looked into, watched, listened to, ruled on. The motions that are a year old and 6 months old that she still hasn't ruled on would all need ruled on. There was a lot that would need to be done before January 8th. And you got Christmas coming up. You had Thanksgiving coming up. You got the New Year's coming up. Like, it's a busy time in order to be ready for January the 8th.
Exactly.
She's lazy.
And all of a sudden they got booted. So I have faith in the Supreme Court. I think that if what some people were saying about procedurally, and by some people, I also mean Judge Gall and like the Attorney General, that like on its face, it shouldn't have been filed there. If that were true, then when the final response came through from Kara for Richard Allen on Friday, either then or at least today at some point, I feel they would have wanted to issue an order right away to get it the fuck out of their faces and say, we can't even, this is not the place. Like, there's the time and place, and this is not it. You need to take it to a lower court and that be it. The fact that there's nothing that's happened, I have faith that they're actually looking into it. And you have to think too, is that they had weeks, like what, from the time she filed the very first brief that opened the case. First of all, they have to go through a like screening process. Like, somebody at the Supreme Court reads the brief and they decide whether it can be filed or not. And then if it's not, they say, we can't take that. It's not our place to be here to do that. Or they accept it and they let it be filed. So it already passed that screening. So from that time all the way through, the Supreme Court had all that time to look into whether or not they do have a place to rule on it. And so if they already established between them that it's not their place, it would have been very easy just to, like, they would have, I'd imagine they'd have already had like case law ready to hit it back and say, listen, it's not our place. Take it somewhere else.
But it's fair to say that if he is convicted somehow on this, he's going to have a shit ton of like stuff that he's going to be able to appeal. Correct?
For sure. But that's a terrible. First of all, I was.
Well, no, I'm just saying because I mean that's not fair to because like I would just it's just not fair to the little girl's family that has to know that like even if this guy's convicted.
Like my concern was that he wasn't going to live to January.
That's
I have
thought he was already
serious
dead.
concerns about whether or not he's going to live to whenever this trial is supposed to be. If you want my opinion, I think these two new lawyers were brought in to get him to take a plea deal of some sort.
Oh my God!
If that doesn't work, I'm scared about what the other option is.
I thought she said that she was going to like bring in her own lawyers for him.
Well, I mean that's how she has to say it, but yeah, that's basically what it did. I mean, if you looked it up, and I know everybody says this is a conspiracy theory, but she's friends with them on her Facebook. That was the problem for me right away. That's conflict of interest.
No. I'm just listen. I don't know shit about that. I'm just asking questions. So I'm not trying to like go down a rabbit hole. I'm trying to figure this out because this just shouldn't be this complicated if they had a rock solid case against this guy. But like you said, I thought that's why I asked the question before on when's the last time everybody actually saw this man physically and just didn't hear about him, doing something because I don't think he's going to last either. I thought he might already kick the can,
Yeah.
A lot of people have that.
But then he goes down as a killer. With no trial, and his family now has to live on with that legacy. And I don't think that's so wrong.
Well, and also you have.
But he's there for his own protection. Kiss my ass.
Yeah, you also have they were saying at the October 19th hearing that he looks a little bit better. I have issues with that whole thing. I felt like the brief time that I saw him, it looked like he was being held up.
Somebody in there said he's not being treated well, right? Didn't somebody write a letter or some shit?
I mean, it was very.
Sorry,
I thought some.
It was obvious. He's lost like half his body weight. And he's 5'4". He's like a small man.
Oh yeah, no, he looks completely. And that's why, I was thinking, okay, so if they are not, and it sounds like from what the inmate wrote a letter saying that he is being treated differently. I don't understand that because what I would be doing and what I would be telling them is, listen, fatten him up as much as you can because we need to, make him resemble the guy on the videotape that we're going to show a jury, and he's going to look like he's going to be 150 pounds less, for Christ's sakes. So I don't know why they're doing that to him if it's going to change his appearance and.
Well, if you don't intend to go to trial,
right.
If you don't intend to go to trial, then what does it matter what you look like?
Listen, I get it, but I mean, if they kill this guy, I mean, that's so because we all would know it could have been stopped, it could have been avoided.
Well, that's my concern is that maybe he did look a little bit better in this October 19th hearing, but again, it looked like he was physically being held up, walking down the steps. I've heard from people that were physically present there that he tripped. Doing the steps, and at the same time I got a real good picture of his feet, and he's got these long ass laces on his shoes. Like he's in segregation for his safety, but you're giving him a pair of shoes with 7 foot
to hang himself
shoelaces that are bigger than him.
But that's how you bring the guy to court. I mean, are you trying to make this guy look like a piece of? I mean, at least Brian gets to wear, a suit and go in there and whatever. Why doesn't this guy get to have the same privileges as, like in the Idaho case? Like, why is this guy being treated completely different than what everybody's used to?
Every place is different. The thing is they bring this guy into court with 12 officers escorting him for what? The guy looks like he's drugged. He looks like The Walking Dead, is what I've said.
Yeah,
he's
He's
lost the equivalent of a whole person, in my opinion. What is he going to do that you need 12 police officers escorting you? Nothing. Okay.
But they're trying to paint that picture. Is what I'm saying.
There's that, but like she said, he looks like he's drugged. Like if you look at him, he catches a camera. It's like he's looking through whoever's standing there. He doesn't see those people, is what it looks like to me.
Like he looks around, like his eyes are like real buggy, and he's just looking around.
And I think you told me before, Dago, that he has no criminal or mental history. Is that correct?
Nothing that was brought out. Nothing. No.
So
Actually, I think
I
of
do
everybody.
believe.
Go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I believe that in one of the filings, the defense did make a comment about like him previously having depression. But my whole thing is that
Well, that
in
yeah.
this particular instant, like this is different than just being depressed. Like
hell yeah. Shit, half of America is
and my
depressed, for Christ's
concern
sake.
is that so we had these other attorneys. They made. What the heck?
You okay?
You're there? You're there? What's up, Rids?
Hey, bud. I was going to ask, thank you, Dago, for having me on here, but I wanted to ask, well, now she's off. This
She's probably going to come back.
This mystery bullet, was it checked for DNA or fingerprints?
And I don't remember right now, bud. I'll have to go back, and Susie might actually know that. Are you okay, Susie?
I guess. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're good.
Sleuthie, I wanted to ask a question. Was this mystery round, this bullet, was it checked for DNA or fingerprints?
I don't see anywhere that it was.
That's unbelievable. And I'll tell you why.
I thought the same thing, though.
I volunteer my time on a gun range. It's mostly shotguns. And I was working with a police officer, and I gave him a whole bunch of shotgun shells. We were shooting at trap and skeet. And he gave me some of his bullets, extra bullets. He says, hold on a minute. He wiped them all off with gloves on. He said, I don't want my DNA. I don't know where you're going to fire your weapon at.
That's smart.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Very smart.
I never thought about it. So I'm wondering, well, if they can find his DNA on that bullet, or they can find fingerprints, because you got to load it with your hand.
Well, they said.
Well, how do you ask? But how do you say? Okay, so you guys went to the extent of getting so much science, done on this bullet to see that it was in this specific gun, but you didn't check it for fingerprints?
That's my question.
I mean, I don't know if they did or not, but I do know that the defense did say in that memo that there was no DNA tying him to the crime scene. I would assume that if his fingerprints or, actually, I think it even said fingerprints too. Now I'm going to have to do a search and see. But, if that was on the bullet, I would imagine that would no longer be an accurate statement.
But you're saying nobody saw this bullet, correct?
Well, they've seen one photo of it.
Okay.
The defense has.
But they don't have, so is defense able to actually, again, I don't know too much about law and shit. Is defense able to actually have the evidence in front of them to, go through physically?
Oh,
or do
yes.
they have to? So if they ask for the bullet, they have to be given the bullet, correct?
Oh, no, I do not think that they physically have the bullets. They just have the results of the lab.
Yeah, but how? Okay, so hold on a second. If they have the result, if something is sent to a lab and they have the results, then how does the defense get their own, experts to do their testing? Then, if their experts don't have access to the physical evidence.
That's a good point. I have to look. That's a good point. I think about that in other places, but here I don't think I've seen anywhere where they've requested to see it.
Gotcha.
Right. Now here you go.
Is that from
I want you to watch this real
is that
fast.
from
This is the most recent one, and I want you
from June. Now that one is when he walked in, Bob was like, what? Like, he's like, I didn't know he's like, I didn't know he was child sized. And B, he looked like, so Bob, and Allie defended this guy, Garcia. And I was super curious long ago. So I looked it up and I watched him in court. Right. And I was like, what the hell is going on? This man, they had this man in a wheelchair. And he was all overgrown, and he was just staring. Like, if I could get close enough, I'd say he was probably drooling. And in talking to Bob Moore, apparently that was purposeful. They did all this kinds of crazy stuff to him, and they were giving him meds, taking the meds, doubling the meds, keeping him awake, keeping the lights on, all kinds of stuff, so that when he was at court during his trial, he looked like he didn't fucking care. He sat there and looked like he literally couldn't care, and that was the point. And he was like, it reminded me of Garcia looking at him, but I didn't realize how tiny he was. So this was the June one that he first saw him and was like, oh my God.
When they watch him, Willie, when he looks in direction of the camera, to me, he looks like he's looking through the camera. He doesn't like he doesn't even. Okay, I even slowed it down so you could see the expression on his face and how he has to be walked.
He looks like he has no clue where the fuck he's at right now. He's
look at his hands and his arms, how frail. Look at the veins in his hands. The man's dehydrated for one. Okay.
Yeah.
That's dehydration.
Is that a bruise? Is that a bruise on his forearm right there? Yeah.
I think that's a thumb. The thumb to the officer.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
He's dehydrated for one. Okay.
Is it a thumb? It could be a thumb. It's so small on the screen. It's like,
it's
a thumb. Okay.
But just watch his eyes. His eyes are empty. There's nothing there. Okay.
He's lethargic.
Completely lethargic. He's looking around and he's just kind of like, where am I? You know what I mean? It's sick. It's sad. I know the guy is a suspect in a murder case, but he's still a human being and he has human rights. And I just look at that. Look at his neck.
Yeah, but with that kind of piss poor evidence, I mean, Jesus.
His face looks sunk in it. Like, you know how people, like, when they have no teeth and they have dentures, and they like take their dentures out, how their face like sinks in. That's what he looks like.
Yeah, and like I said, this video here, there's not as many, but before I've watched where there's 12 officers walking him through this area. He's got the on, he's chained, he's shackled. They're walking and holding. Look how they're holding him. It's almost as if they were to let go, he'd just fall over.
And here's the problem is that people say, well, he's doing that on purpose so that he looks that way. You know, the warden came in and the whoever came in and they testified and they said that he was refusing to eat and refusing to sleep and he didn't want to change clothes and he wouldn't shower and this is all by design and they were liars. And it's like what did you expect? Do you expect like the warden and like the people that are in charge of caring for his safety was going to come into court and be like, yep, we're like pissing in his food so he can't eat.
Yeah, they're
not going to do that.
But yeah, that's fact, and that's why I wanted you guys to see this. This is what made me go, what the hell's going on? Seeing this back in June, like, why is this man the Walking Dead, basically? Okay.
Yeah, we talked. I think we talked about it back then with this exact video.
And I hate comparison. I hate comparing the cases. I really do, because they're two different cases. But I always use Idaho because it's the only case everybody else knows. Brian walked to court in a 3-piece suit, looking like the FBI. Okay, I mean, haircut, nice, and I mean, he looks better than he did when he got arrested. Then we have this. We have this guy,
and this guy came to get some food.
I do not.
And he looks like. Go ahead.
I don't worry for Brian Kohberger's life. Like on a daily basis. Do you know what I mean? Like, and also I trust the judge. I love that judge. And I think that his lawyer is very thorough. I'm not concerned for him making it to trial. I'm not like, but this man, it like, and then they were videotaping him while he's having conversations with his lawyers. You know, just everything about it just
that's
just
weird.
Not right. And for Riddler, I did find the paragraph. So in this, and this will answer your question because I would assume that this also means the bullet as well. But it says Jerry Holman has testified to the following. So under oath in a deposition, there's no DNA linking Richard Allen to the crime scene. No data extracted from Richard Allen's phone connects him to the murders. No data extracted from Libby's phone connected Richard to the murders. There's no evidence that Richard Allen is or was connected to any other suspects in the case. There is no evidence found on social media that connects Richard Allen to the murders. There is no evidence extracted from Richard Allen's computers that connects him to the murders. There is no fingerprint evidence that connects Richard Allen to the murders.
Nope.
No wonder why the lawyers want to take on this case.
They want to take it on pro bono too. How about
Yeah.
that?
Yeah,
They
because
want
it's a
They want to
slam
go to
dunk.
they want to go to trial
Yes.
immediately because
Yes.
all
They
of
know
this is
something or feel something about this that tells them that they don't even want to get paid because they want this guy gets the
It
right.
seems like they just want justice, kind of like what we're, talking about.
That's what it's all about right there. It's about justice, period.
Thank you, Sleuthy, for
That's
looking
why the
that
guy
up.
said, it's time to
Look at
start.
this guy.
It's
Look at
time to
this
start
guy.
reporting.
That was the guy. That's what he looked like when they arrested him. That person that we just saw before this is not the same person. I'm sorry. Yeah, he looks like two different people to me. I know it's the same person, but two different.
Yeah.
That's how much change there's been.
And
It's insane.
in a short amount of time.
Yeah. So, and like she said, I wouldn't eat either. I wouldn't trust them to not piss in my food or worse, defecate in it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense to me that this is being allowed to be. Okay, it's insane. It really is. And if this guy comes out, I'm not saying at all. I'm not defending Richard Allen that he's not involved, that he didn't do this, whatever. He's still human and he's still innocent until they can prove that he did this. Not according to the way that things are going here. This guy's been guilty since the moment they put cuffs on him. In everybody's
but listen
eyes.
to that. I mean, I thought they could at least ping his phone in the area, if he said that he was walking somewhere. But if they can't even, connect his phone to, what the hell is going on?
Right. That's why we're covering this, bud. That's why I jumped into this like I did, because I just couldn't believe it. Everybody's talking about conspiracy over in Idaho.
My ass.
This is real happening right here, and it looks more of a conspiracy than that shit did. This is really happening for real. That's why we're bringing it to you like this. So, and it needs to be seen by everybody because it's that bad. Okay. Thank you, Hope.
Can I read you one
please.
page of this?
Please do.
This will kind of just sum up like what they have and then what the defense is saying is because there's a reason why they did that. So basically what they're saying, the reason that they filed this Frank's memorandum is to suppress all the evidence that was found at his house, meaning like they go to the house, they get this gun and this bullet or whatever. If that's the only thing tying him to that crime scene and it's gone, then you have no case. And so they list what was used for probable cause and then explain various things such as that Liggett lied and twisted witness testimony. So like the witness testimony or their eyewitnesses were used as probable cause, but he changed their testimony and put it in that written document. So basically they say Liggett also failed to inform Judge Diener that DNR Dan cannot be trusted to perform the most basic of tasks when conducting an investigation. Get the name right. Liggett swearing under oath that Richard Allen was on the trails between 1:30 and 3:30 based upon Dan Doolin's lost and unrecorded interview may not be the best benchmark for Judge Diener to rely on. Unfortunately, Judge Diener would not know the unreliability of Doolin's report because Liggett never let him know. So here's the seven things. Number one, Richard Allen was on the trails between 1:30 and 3:30. That information came from him. The single solitary source for this information is Dan Doolin from DNR. Therefore, in order to confidently trust that Richard Allen actually said that he was on the trail between 1:30 and 3:30, as stated in Liggett's affidavit, Dan Doolin's work product would also have to be trusted. Words matter when talking to someone. For example, if the exchange between Dan Doolin and Richard Allen was this, quote, Richard, we think the girls were abducted between 1:30 and 3:30. Were you on the trail at any point in time between 1:30 and 3:30 p.m. on February, it says 17th, but it means 13th? And Richard answered yes. That does not mean that Richard Allen was actually on the trail the entire time between 1:30 and 3:30. However, Doolin could memorialize that exchange as Richard claiming he was on the trails the entire 2-hour time span. If so, Doolin's report would be inaccurate. Therefore, Doolin's accuracy in writing reports may need to be considered and scrutinized. The defense does not have to go very far in scrutinizing Doolin's accuracy in report writing. It can start with the report Doolin wrote about his interaction with Richard Allen. The conversation between Richard Allen and Dan Doolin came about when Richard Allen called the tip line to provide the limited information that he, Richard, may have had from his time on the trail that day. Doolin and Richard met at a grocery store in Delphi. At the conclusion of Doolin's interview with Richard Allen, Doolin, prepared his report. However, Doolin screwed up the most basic of tasks, getting the name right. Doolin was so sloppy in drafting his report that he put Richard Allen's name into the system as Rick Allen Whiteman. Basically, they go on to say that he lives on Whiteman Drive before they were forced to sell their house that they lived in for many years because he was accused of killing the two girls. And then, of course, another source of information of what time Richard Allen was on the trails that day is Richard Allen himself. As discussed previously in this memorandum, Richard Allen told Liggett that he, Richard Allen, arrived on the trails around noon and left around 1:30 p.m. This information that Liggett concealed from Judge Diener. Richard's black Ford Focus was not parked at the CPS building at 2:15, according to Betsy Blair. This was also information that Liggett concealed from Judge Diener. So the second reason that they used for probable cause was Richard Allen owns a blue coat. And they said, as do millions of other men. Number 3, Richard Allen owns guns, as do millions of other men. Number 4, Richard owns guns, as do millions of other men. Number 5, his black Ford Focus was parked at this building between 1:30 and 4 p.m. As the court knows by now, at 2:15, Betsy Blair observed a vehicle parked at the old CPS lot that resembled a 1965 non-black Comet with an angular design. This was not Richard Allen's vehicle. More importantly, Tony Liggett concealed this fact from Judge Diener. And in fact, this is me talking. In the probable cause affidavit that Liggett wrote, he did not provide what description of a car she gave at all. Number 6 is Betsy Blair observed a man on the bridge that Liggett claimed was Richard Allen. As the court knows by now, the man that Betsy Blair observed on the bridge was a 20-year-old kid with brown poofy hair that did not resemble Rick Allen. So Rick Allen left the Monon Trail at 1:30 and therefore was not on the high bridge when Betsy Blair observed the 20-year-old kid. Rick's black Ford Focus was not at the CPS lot at 2:15, which is further evidence that Rick Allen was not on the bridge as he already left the trails. Again, Liggett concealed that Betsy Blair identified a young man on the bridge and not Rick Allen. And then the last one is Sarah Carball observed a man walking down the road that Liggett claims, 1, was Richard Allen, and also 2, the same man that Betsy Blair viewed on the high bridge. As the court knows by now, Sarah Carball observed a man wearing a tan coat and muddy pants. This man does not meet the description of the man that Betsy Blair saw on the bridge, which according to Liggett is the same man that Carball observed at 300 on 300 North. And because Richard Allen's black Ford Focus was not at the CPS lot at 2:15 when Betsy Blair passed by and saw a 1965 Comet-looking car at the CPS lot, Richard Allen could not have been the man walking down 300 North. Liggett lied to Judge Diener when Liggett claimed that in 2017, Sarah Carball observed a man with a blue coat and muddy and bloody clothing. And there you go.
Yep.
You're muted.
You have a full copy of the Franks?
I do.
Would you be interested in? Because I can't find it. I can't find any documents that I want.
Yeah.
So this is a perfect example of two things. One, ladies and gentlemen, if you don't know already, if you're ever arrested, shut the hell up. Because if this guy would have shut the hell up, he wouldn't. I mean, how do you arrest him? Based on what?
That's a great point.
Who signs off on that? Like I said, do you have more evidence, physical, or whatever evidence we want to call it, on the property owner than you do on Richard Allen, other than the confession? I want to hear no bullshit. This bullet was in this gun, unchambered, whatever. Come on, man.
It's all crazy. It's all crazy, but
dude, it gets crazier. Wait till you go through, like, and I just sent it in a Twitter DM. I sent a Google Drive link.
Okay, thank you.
But when you start going through it and you see all the stuff, one of the things I really cannot get past is the Elvis Fields thing. I'm sorry, until I know what all happened there. I'm sorry, but the day, first of all, we don't even know if the girls were found yet, deceased, and this man's already talking to his sister and saying that calling Abby by her full government name and that she's a pain in the ass, and he put, sticks in her hair, and that he was on the bridge with two guys when two girls were taken and killed, and that he spit on them after they were dead, and that he was part of a gang now. You got all that shit. And
then the question that he asked about the spitting on this and that, why was none of that taken into account and made a big deal? Is what I don't understand.
He lived 130 some odd miles away. It's not like he heard around the town what was happening. He lived 130 miles away.
Yes, exactly.
His sister didn't even know that girls were missing in Delphi at that time.
Right. See, and I hadn't even gotten to that point with you guys, but there's so much more of this that is, it's all insane. That Elvis thing is one of the biggest deals to me. And I just don't understand. How are they even, it blows my mind. The whole thing blows my mind.
I just, like I said, like I say with the Idaho case, how can you convince 12 unbiased people that this guy did it with beyond a reasonable doubt with this evidence? How do you do it?
Well,
without a proper, I mean, with a fair defense, how do you, as a prosecution, think you can even, come on?
And I'll tell you how. I'll tell you exactly how. They didn't charge him with physically killing the girls with a knife. The way he's charged is that during the commission of a felony that they're calling kidnapping, the girls ended up dying.
Yeah.
So all they need, Kara tweeted it, and I because I keep hearing it and it's not correct. And I tried to explain this to somebody, but so this is from a lawyer in Indiana. And she said, this is about his charges. Richard Allen has been charged with felony murder, not knowing/intentional murder. This case is not capital or life without parole eligible as it is currently charged. The charging information does not allege he knowingly or intentionally killed the girls, and it expressly references subsection 2 of the murder statute, which is the felony murder provision. This is important because, in my opinion, it puts the state's comments at the press conference into context that they were still investigating and believed other people may be involved. The charges, as alleged, mean the state does not have to show that Allen actually killed the girls, but only that the girls died while Allen and maybe others kidnapped the girls. And to muddy the waters even further, at trial, the state can decide to pursue convictions by showing accomplice liability. That means the state could seek a guilty verdict by showing that Allen didn't even participate in the kidnapping. He merely aided, induced, or caused others to kidnap and kill the girls. Law review articles have been written about how squishy the combination of accomplice liability and felony murder can be. So, all they need to do is prove that the person in that video that said guys down the hill was Richard Allen with a gun, and that gun then carried with him and the two girls over to that spot, and he dropped that bullet there in between them, and then they died and somebody else killed them. It could have even been after he left.
The hell?
Yep.
Yes.
How the hell is that justice for? So he's the guy who took them over to an area that somebody else, but they don't give a shit who that somebody else is.
Sleuthy, what was in the PCA that was the damning?
I live in the Twilight Zone.
The
was
bullet.
The damning evidence? The bullet?
Well, the bullet, and then there were a couple girls, teenage girls that were there that day. All of them described a different looking individual, even though they were all physically together when they saw this individual.
Right.
One of them didn't come forward until 3 years later. She brought timestamped photos of when they were at the bridge. And she was the sister of one of the victims' best friends. And then Sarah Carball seeing the man that was walking. But then again, you have Liggett that said that she said that he was wearing, the blue jacket and the blue jeans.
Right.
And was muddy and bloody. But when they were watching her interview from 2017, she actually said that he had a tan coat and was just muddy.
Right.
So he wasn't even wearing the same thing. And then you have the people that described the car that was parked at the CPS building. Betsy Blair said that it looked like a 1965 Comet. She was sure of it because her dad had one.
Right.
So, but again, basically all they have to do is convince 12 people that he had his gun on him, and he, let's say he just scared them off the bridge. Like the way that this is charged right now, if he scared them off the bridge and was like, down the hill, you can't cross the road to come back, the way that you came, you got to go down the hill. The girls go down the hill, and then some other rando person snatches them up and kills them.
But that's fine. How can you prove that with a bullet? If we're not talking like they have him pinging, going here, going there, and then going to the area, leaving, whatever. How can you paint that picture with a bullet?
It depends. Unfortunately, people tend, if you have experts, but you can have a defense expert do that experiment that we talked about earlier, right? Let me get 10 guns. Let me get all these bullets. And I want that examiner to tell me which gun that bullet came from. And if she can't reproduce it, then it's garbage. But people tend to think that the state's experts, which are people who work for and are paid by the state, are more credible than defense experts. They think defense experts are just, they're paid to say whatever you want them to say. Generally, they'll go with the state expert.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if it really comes down to it and it's really hairy, they'll go with whoever is more personable. And that's just the honest to God truth. Whoever explains it better and is more personable, that's who they'll go with. If they understand what you're saying better than the other one.
Right. And that's another reason too, like Willie, with your questions, and Riddler had some questions too. I'd love to get Bob to come up here and explain like, although Sleuthy knows a lot of legal stuff too. She's really good with that stuff, but Bob explain it from his aspect, and the fact that he's been in there and watched this stuff and listened to this stuff and knows what he does with this stuff too. So I want to get everybody to the understanding of how this is happening and why this is happening, and see how wrong it is in a lot of senses.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's unbelievable. I've never seen anything go down like this before.
Well, again, I could go on the guy who owns that property, find a couple bullets, find, a couple pieces of maybe rope or whatever in his woods, and paint this whole picture for a jury that the property owner did it.
Well, they
could do the same thing.
They tried to
he's
do
dead.
That. He's gone now. Yeah. Right.
What?
Yeah, he died. He COVID, I think it was. But he was looked at as a person of interest originally with this. Okay. And now he's gone.
Oh,
so, and there was Keegan Klein. There was who was the first guy? It wasn't Ron Logan. There was somebody else that they looked at before him. It started with an N. I thought was his last name. I'll find it either way. But there's a lot more. There's a whole lot more, guys. There really is.
Well, if I'm on that jury and the defense brings up what Sleuthy brought up about no DNA anywhere, I'm going to say not guilty, because they use it. If it's good enough to be charged for guilty, and then if it's absent, then it's good enough to be a not guilty. I mean, yeah, I know he could have had gloves on and loaded it, but when you start putting two and two together, different manufacturers at his home, and there's just this one round.
The bullet killed me.
Right. And I don't know how they would figure out which round that came out. I know the extractor claw grabs it and throws it out, ejects it. But I wouldn't know how they could tell the difference between a Glock and a SIG, did it?
I mean, find me one receipt of him buying 40 caliber Smith and Wesson rounds marketed by Winchester. Just one.
Mm-hmm.
That year.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a really good point, actually. And Lynn says that they have DNA. So
they do. They have a lot of DNA, but it's not Richard Allen's DNA. They have urine. It's not his urine. They have spit. It's not his.
Right. That's what I'm saying. the DNA doesn't put him into that position, in my opinion. Hugh Holt, welcome. Good to see you.
Unless if you were to say that that's not true, then you have to also then say that Liggett lied under oath.
Well, now Hugh Holt says the DNA they have is from the blood on the tree.
The DNA
That's
of
new.
the blood on the F tree was tested in its Libby's.
Okay, that's what I thought. That it was one of the victims, but had nothing to do with Richard Allen or anybody else. So yeah.
And I hate to say this, and it's really awful and gross, but if they got nothing else from that other than that it was Libby's DNA and her hands were covered in blood, depending on what all happened down there, I would not be surprised if it got there from her own hands. You know what I mean? And
I know what you're saying. Yeah.
And yeah, the person never committed a crime before, but they have Richard Allen's DNA. If it matched, they would know.
Right. There's another piece of evidence that goes that I know about that I can't put out, that I won't put out, that I've been told that is another whole thing too that bothers me. And again, there's a lot more to this, guys. There really is. That is all they're telling you, which makes perfect sense. That the person has never committed a crime. Okay. Well, thank you both. I appreciate the comments. Like I said, I just again, guys, we're gonna do another show like within this week where I'm gonna cover the entire the whole Frank's memorandum. That's gonna be the whole show, and more and more and more. And like I said, I'm gonna see if I can reach out to Bob and see if he'd be interested in coming by for a little while just to talk, because there's a lot that people don't understand, and it was surprising to me how many people didn't know about this case. And then I started getting into it, and everybody's like, "What's this? And who's that? And when did this happen? And all that." I mean, you know, a lot, and I want you guys to understand every bit of it. So that's why I get very appreciative, like when people like Sleuthy comes in, jumps up here, and explains all this stuff that I don't actually have complete knowledge of. So,
hell yeah, because I don't know shit. You know.
You will by the time we're done with it, Willie, because there's a lot.
I know. I know shit now. You know, like I said, I knew the basic shit, but everything, I didn't know about everything else. Jesus mighty.
There's a lot.
It's a whole lot.
I went back to the beginning and started from there and started bringing it forward little by little so that everybody could catch up with everything, to try to build up to the point where we're into the crazy shit with the judge and the attorneys and all of that other shit that goes from there. You know what I mean? But to get to that, you had to understand everything before. And we're not completely there yet. I haven't even explained how the whole thing went down with Elvis and the spit and the comment and what if I did this, would I be in trouble, blah blah blah. All that. There's so much more. So we're getting there for sure. And it goes deeper than what you see on surface, folks. It really does.
Oh yeah. Well, I appreciate you having me up, and it was nice talking to everybody. I'm gonna hop down so I can go watch this game tonight. But
always, my friend, always. Who's playing tonight?
I think it is the
Jaguars
and the Bengals.
I'm getting ready to go watch. I'm about 5 miles from the stadium now.
With no Burrow.
The Jags are going to destroy the.
Oh wait, are you going to that game, Riddler?
No. It's too nasty outside. I'm not in love with them like I am with the Gators.
Yeah.
Well,
all right, guys. You guys have a good night.
Yeah, I'll say good night. Thank you for having me up here, Dago. You were a firefighter. My father was a fire chief, and I want to thank you for your service to the community. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate that, my friend.
Thank you for having me up here. And Sleuthy, thanks for wising me up. I appreciate it.
Of course, I hate that everybody's jumping down at the same time, but you're probably ready to go. I'm
gonna be shutting it down anyway. We've been about 3.5 hours. But thank you, Willie, Riddler, Sleuthy. Always thank you for your amazing at what you do. I appreciate you very much.
If any of you or anybody else needs anything or any information, don't forget I sent that Google Drive link to the document for you. But I have like all the documents. I also have a timeline, but I haven't put it out.
Okay.
But if anybody needs anything, just let me know.
Good night, all.
All right, good night, guys.
All right, see you guys. See you, Chuck.
Take care, everybody. Thank you guys so much for joining me up here today. I appreciate that. And like I said, guys, I want to hear people's, opinions and points of view on this because it is important. It's very important. always excited when Sleuthy jumps up here and puts, when she gets into something, guys, she just doesn't touch on it. She gets all the way into it completely. And she's got a lot of info. Salty Sleuth. She's had tons of info on this as well and has been very helpful with me and still continues to. And I appreciate that as well, to bring it to you guys the way it should be. And again, not everybody's going to agree on these things, okay? Not everybody. And that's okay. It's okay. There's always two sides. Well, I always say there's three sides to every story. There's one side, the other side, and whatever's in the middle, I think is more of the truth, but we'll figure that out. But I really appreciate it. Willie, thank you for jumping up here. Riddler, you're always welcome to jump up here, my friend, and express your opinions and views and ask questions. I appreciate that. And I want that from all of you guys. I really do. So great panel. I appreciate it very much. And thank you guys all that were in here hanging out, listening to this. And I appreciate you guys wanting to know this as well. As we've creeped through this case, little by little, everybody's learning a little bit more every day. That's what it's all about. Good, bad details that not everybody, you're not going to get on MSM the way that you should, so on and so forth. Thank you, SRB. So there's more to come, guys. And as I said, there's another case we're going to be jumping into eventually, but we are going to be covering the Frank's memorandum in full. Thank you, Sleuthy, because I couldn't find the whole thing. That's going to really blow your guys' mind the way that's written up, because it's interesting. We're going to get into Elvis and his scenario and his situation related to this, and that's ridiculous too. And as you'll see, it'll just keep growing, and there's more to it every time, guys. So very much so, Carolyn, very much so. So before we bring this to a close, did anybody have any other questions for me or any other? By the way, Annie Ruler, there you are. I did receive from, I believe it was from you today. It was a birthday gift to help. It was from my Amazon wish list to help with my system, my computer system. Thank you very much for that. I greatly appreciate that. You're amazing, Annie, and I very much need and appreciate that. You'll have to let me know when, because I have some of the exhibit. Awesome. Absolutely, Sleuth. Absolutely. Thank you again. Always. And you're always welcome here. You know that just as much. But I will definitely let you know. Oh yeah, we'll get you brought up to par, Val. Don't worry about that. But again, Annie, thank you for that very much. I do believe it was from your name was on there, so I thank you very much for that. It very much was. The people in here are amazing. Very, very much amazing. I appreciate you all so very much. It definitely is, CL. One of the most interesting cases I've seen because of the way everything's fallen into place with it. I mean, sadly, it's a lot of, in my opinion, I should say it, seems to be unlawful things that are going on. And I'm very uncomfortable with it. And it drew my attention because once again, it's in Delphi. I covered another case very close to that. You guys know about the Flora 4. Right there. I mean, Indiana has got its share of things going on as well, folks, unfortunately. So, but this, we did get out in the algorithm today with this, which I'm very grateful for because it needs to be seen by everybody and anybody to know what's going on and to know the things that are actually happening. So that I appreciate so very much. Very, very much. But guys, it doesn't seem like there's any other questions. So thank you guys all once again very, very much for tuning in today. I appreciate you more than you know. Anybody that had donated anything towards the channel, I appreciate that very, very much as well. And that's a good thing, Annie, because that's what we want to do with this case specifically. There were some mistakes made in the Idaho case. I have to say that. I know some of them even came from this channel. I've taken full accountability and apologize for that in many aspects. This case, it's important to know how everything is and to bring it to you the absolute most truthful way based on fact. Okay. And that's what I'm doing. That's what we're doing in every aspect that we can. So I appreciate that you guys are looking for the truth. That's important. And not looking for anything other than the truth, because we need to know the truth, period. That's what this is all about. Truth and justice and being the voice for the voiceless. The victims, their families, it all needs to be done the right way, folks. So I hope you all, as Lucy said, she'd come back if I do it, CL. So it would be great. And she's always welcome. She knows that if she's got the time, she will. She always jumps in. So very much appreciate her. Again, guys, thank you so much for being here today. I appreciate and love every one of you guys very, very much. I did that already, Annie. They're all gone. I did it today. They're all gone, I do believe. I'll have to go back and double check, but I did pull them all off of there. And again, thank you for that. That was I from the heart, I really appreciated that so very much. You have no idea. So guys, don't forget to love yourselves and to love each other, please. And if you do, or what did I was just getting ready. See, my ADHD is kicking in again. Don't forget to love yourselves and to love each other, guys. And don't change a thing about yourselves because you are the beautiful people. You guys are what makes this happen every day. You guys are why I come here and do this every day. And I do greatly appreciate all of you guys. I hope you have a wonderful night, wonderful rest of your night, I should say. Mistakes because of ignorance and no experience is one thing. Delphi is very different. That's a great quote. Thank you for that, Sleuth. Fact. Have a wonderful night, folks. I will see you again very soon. Bye-bye now.